Chapter 382. Among the three big powers, Voidless Realm's barrier was the strongest, and it gave people the feeling that Voidless Realm was protected by a king. However, wasn't there another possibility as well? Rearing them in captivity? Arranging the Eastern Emperor family within their jurisdiction and waiting for the Eastern Emperor's bloodline to awaken. Perhaps they wanted to absorb the bloodline, or perhaps they had other motives. Yuanda and the others bowed and stood at the two sides. They could clearly feel the godly might that the three of them were emitting out. They didn't expect that 1,000 years later, a god would appear once again. Their hearts were restless. Why did they come here? Looking at their expressions, they don't seem to be in a good mood. Dongwang Baiji finished changing her clothes in her bedroom, then slowly walked into the palace and looked at the three people in the palace. This was also the first time that Lin Hong and the others saw Dongwang Baiji, and their eyes revealed a look of surprise. Her appearance is actually above Madame Zi Yuan's, and the aura that was emitting out from her body is even more similar to that of a king. If not for the difference in status, I would have already kneeled down just now. Sanchi was very unhappy. A mere person from a low-grade world actually made me have the urge to kneel down and worship. Sanchi shouted out, "Eastern Emperor family, why are you not paying respects to the gods?" Only Marquis Wangye's trusted aides knew about the Eastern Emperor family's arrangement, and other people naturally didn't know about it. Dongwang Baiji looked at the three of them and felt the faint godly might that the three of them were giving off. These three people are indeed gods, there is no mistake about it. Just that, this god sure has a big tone. If not for Voidless Realm's rule that was passed down from generation to generation, Dongwang Baiji wouldn't even bother to converse with them. Dongwang Baiji slightly leaned forward and said faintly, "Dongwang Baiji pays respects to the gods." What kind of attitude is this? Sanchi reprimanded harshly. Lin Hong raised his hand, indicating to Sanchi not to speak carelessly. "Dongwang Baiji, although you are a person with power in this world, you are not a king. You are nothing, please be a bit more respectful." "King?" Dongwang Baiji asked confusedly. Lin Hong said faintly, "There are some things that you know too much about, it is not a good thing." Dongwang Baiji had been an empress for a very long time, and this was the first time that she met such a rude person. This is a god. He didn't seem to have the slightest intention of showing respect. In actuality, the reason why Dongwang Baiji had such an attitude towards Dongwang Baiji was also due to Yihua, because Yihua would often have a heart-to-heart talk with Dongwang Baiji when he was sleeping. Although the things that Yihua talked to Dongwang Baiji about weren't very big, Dongwang Baiji deeply felt that she didn't need to listen to anyone else's orders in her life. "Deity, is there a reason why you have come here today?" Dongwang Baiji asked indifferently. Her expression was the same as before, and she did not have the slightest bit of intention of backing down. San Qi and Li Li's faces darkened. It seemed like they wanted to teach him a lesson. Although Lin Hong was angry, His Highness valued the Dongwang clan very much, and there couldn't be any mishaps. Lin Hong said in a deep voice, "Your attitude today, I will report it to His Highness. Bear the consequences yourself." "I, the Empress, am naturally able to bear the responsibility," Dongwang Baiji said calmly. She slowly sat on the throne and looked down at the three of them. Lin Hong coldly snorted, "That's fine, I hope you can endure His Highness' anger." The expressions of Yuanda and the others abruptly changed. They didn't understand why the Empress had suddenly become so domineering. This was a god. He can easily destroy Voidless Realm, I can't offend him. If Yihua was here, he would definitely praise his wife. My woman doesn't need to fear anyone and anything. If they can't defeat me, I will call them husband, I will let them experience what deep despair is. If the three of you don't have anything else, you can leave Voidless Realm. Hearing that the Empress was going to expel the three of them, Yuanda's heart sunk. She really isn't giving me any face at all. Lin Hong didn't expect that this Dongwang Baiji would be so arrogant. If not for His Highness, I would have started a massacre today. Taking a deep breath, Yihua calmed down the anger within his body. "Dongwang Baiji, I have a few things to ask you." "Speak." Lin Hong had seen formidable people before, but he had never seen such a formidable woman before. That Madame Zi Yuan was very formidable too, but in the end, she was still defeated by His Highness and then accepted into his harem. It was just that they had never seen a formidable woman before. If they had seen a formidable woman before, their attitude would definitely not be like this. How did Ji family get destroyed? Lin Hong asked gravely. So the reason why these deities came down is to ask about Ji family. Thinking about it, it is normal. I am only in charge of the north, and I am not very clear about what happened to Ji family. When I arrived at Ji family was already in ruins. Dong Huang Baiji said. Have you seen this woman before? Lin Hong took out a portrait of a woman. Dong Huang Baiji looked at the woman in the portrait. She looks so familiar. Where have I seen this woman before? Where have I seen this woman before? That's right. That's Zishan. Yi Hong's wife. My God, is that Zishan a deity? And Yi Hong is Yi Hua's underling. Dong Huang Baiji's mind was a bit confused, but she mustn't be confused right now, because Yi Hua had caused a huge trouble. I have never seen her before. What relationship does the woman in the portrait have with Ji family? Dong Huang Baiji asked. Lin Hong kept the portrait and said faintly, this woman is His Highness's concubine, and the last place that she appeared was at Ji family. Dong Huang Baiji's heart sunk, then said calmly, so that's how it is. Since you don't know, then forget about it. However, I will report everything that you did today to His Highness. After finished speaking, Lin Hong brought his men and disappeared, heading towards Ying family to greet them. After the three of them left, Dong Huang Baiji sat on the throne and went into a daze. After connecting all these things together, everything becomes clear. I have to discuss this matter with Qinya. Your Majesty. Yuan De shouted out. All of you can leave. After finished speaking, Dong Huang Baiji appeared in the courtyard. What happened? Qinya carried Dong Huang Li and asked concernedly. Dong Huang Baiji signaled the maid to carry her daughter into the house to sleep. Looking at Dong Huang Baiji's expression, Qinya knew that it wasn't a good thing. Afterward, Dong Huang Baiji told Qinya about what happened just now. The deities came because of Ji family's matter? Dong Huang Baiji shook her head and said gravely, no, to be precise, they came to look for a woman. Woman? Do you still remember the godly might that you felt at Ji family that day? That is the woman that they are looking for. Qinya's gaze was filled with doubt, then asked, is it related to Yi Hua? As expected of the woman that Yi Hua regards highly, to be able to think of my man for everything. Dong Huang Baiji nodded her head. This caused Qinya to exclaim in admiration. Furthermore, we know that woman. No? This time, Qinya was even more astonished. She is Yi Hong's wife. Zishan. Ah. It's her. Qinya stood up in shock. Dong Huang Baiji hurriedly held on to Qinya, be careful of the child. That's right, it is Zishan. Furthermore, this Zishan is some king's concubine. Qinya slowly sat down, then said with a taut face, the cigarette ash that we found at Ji family that day? Chapter 383. A feeling of powerlessness emerged from Qinya's heart. Just who is Yi Hua? Why is my feeling towards Yi Hua becoming more and more blurry? Isn't he just the boss of a bar? Wasn't he a cultivator hiding from his enemies? Was Ji family exterminated by Yi Hua? Dong Huang Baiji asked puzzledly. Qinya shook her head. This matter is still not easy to judge. The two women fell silent. They felt that their husband was hiding a lot of things from them. They couldn't understand why he was hiding it from them. Was it because he didn't trust him? I'm your wife. If anything happens, we'll face it together. Why do you have to hide it from me? Yi Hua was worried that they wouldn't be able to accept his identity, and thus, there were some things that Yi Hua didn't say. Of course, there were also some things that Yi Hua felt that there was no need to say. After all, they were all small matters, and there was nothing to say. However, to Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji, these small matters were huge matters. In actuality, what women were concerned about was whether or not the man had placed them in his heart. However, Yihua didn't know what these women were thinking. After all, he didn't have much experience in dating, and thus, he directly skipped this part and became a father. However, right now, Yihua still didn't know that the gods had already come to look for him. Furthermore, his two wives already knew that he was present at that time. Although he didn't tell the gods that he was present at that time, the two wives were still very unhappy that their husbands were hiding everything from them. Yihua stood at the entrance of Leisure Bar and took a look at the Audi A8 that was parked at the side. Right now, there isn't even a driver left. Opening up his phone, he took a look at the change in his WeChat. There is only 100 plus RMB left. Yesterday, I went to Lai Gu's house to freeload a meal. Today, I will go to Wei Chang's house to freeload a meal. As for Qin Yutong, who is playing games, I don't care about her anymore. Brother-in-law, wait for me. Qin Yutong immediately rushed out and hugged onto Yihua's arm. Yihua's arms sunk deep into that soft place. Right now, Qin Yutong doesn't even need to put on makeup when she goes out, because she is much more beautiful than before. What are you doing out here? Going to eat with brother-in-law? Qin Yutong said with a smile. Don't you have money? Brother-in-law, do you think I have money? Hurry up and bring my sister back, or else we'll have to beg for food. Yihua sneered, even if I starve to death, I won't go there. Qin Yutong's face was filled with disbelief. You came just in time, you drive. Yihua said faintly. Qin Yutong stretched out her delicate hand. What? Brother-in-law, the car needs to be refueled. When I drove it back yesterday, it was almost out of gas. Yihua raised his hand and slapped onto his sister-in-law's buttocks. Are you only going to open it and not increase it? I also need to have money to add on. It hurts so much, Qin Yutong said pitifully. When other people spanked their buttocks, it was only for the sake of their mood, but when brother-in-law spanked their buttocks, it was completely a real spanking. Yihua could only take out his phone and call Didi. Not long after, a geely drove over, and Yihua brought along his sister-in-law to freeload a meal. When the old driver in the front saw the man and woman getting on the car, he was also amazed. This woman was really beautiful. Just looking at her made him have a physiological reaction. Brother-in-law, we can't go on like this. The old driver almost rear-ended the car. It was actually his sister-in-law and brother-in-law. Looking at how intimate they were, this sister-in-law could not wait to directly stick to him. She even said such words. He was simply speechless. She was playing with her brother-in-law behind her sister's back. Yihua said faintly, go back to your old profession and earn some money for me. The old driver almost flipped the car. This brother-in-law wants his sister-in-law to sell herself and earn money for him. This is simply too ferocious to the extreme. Sniff, 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 I don't want to do it. How about brother-in-law, you go and do it? The old driver almost choked to death on his own saliva. This is definitely the weirdest brother-in-law and sister-in-law, selling all kinds of things. Scram. Qin Yutong pouted her mouth. I definitely won't go and become a celebrity. How boring is that? I might as well stay at home and play games to be happy. 20 minutes later, the two finally arrived at Wei Chang's old neighborhood. Might as well let Wei Chang sell the house, at least he can still sleep in the storage room. Yihua muttered. Qin Yutong laughed lightly. Hearing his sister-in-law's laughter, Yihua asked, what are you laughing at? Your life is not as good as your subordinates. Yihua raised his hand and gave a slap, causing Qin Yutong's face to turn red. Most probably, she was feeling it. She even had to walk with her legs between her legs. Brother-in-law, did we forget about Yizizi? Qin Yutong suddenly remembered Yizizi. This child has not finished school yet. Let her directly come over to eat later. The two walked towards Wei Chang's building, and just when they arrived downstairs, they saw Wei Chang and Tang Wei going out of the building. Boss. Wei Chang cried out in surprise. Tang Wei hurriedly greeted Yihua, and Yihua signaled to Tang Wei to forget about it. What are you two going to do? Yihua asked. I was just about to come here to freeload a meal, and you two are going out right now. Wei Chang said respectfully, "Boss, we were just about to go to the Green and Red brothers' house. Yi Hong is treating us today." Yi Hua's brows wrinkled. "To actually not inform the Supreme Overlord that you are treating us? Do you want to die? If Yi Hong has the guts to go and treat you, you are a Supreme Overlord, would you even care about a meal like this?" However, the current Yi Hua indeed cared about it very much. "Wherever there is food to eat, I will freeload there, and I still have to maintain the demeanor of a Supreme Overlord." However, upon thinking about Little Red, Yi Hua thought about that Zishan. "I wonder how their situation is. I forgot about this matter." Calculating the time, it should be around 2 months, right? Has this Little Red gotten Zishan yet? If she didn't, Yi Hua stood there and waited for Wei Chang to invite him. Could it be that I, the Supreme Overlord, am going to take the initiative to go? Wei Chang felt that his honor wanted to say something, so he lowered his head and listened to his honor. "Seems like Zhu Tian is still the brains of the team. Boss, how about we go together?" Tang Wei, who was at the side, said respectfully. Yi Hua said reluctantly, "I, the Supreme Overlord, will go and take a look then." Qin Yutong wanted to laugh, but she didn't dare to. Brother-in-law really wants everything. He clearly wants to freeload a meal, but he is too embarrassed to ask for it. Wei Chang's current car was a Cayenne, which was a bit more high-end than Yi Hua's A8. Once again, Qin Yutong's words were verified. Tang Wei was driving, Wei Chang was sitting at the front passenger seat, and Yi Hua and Qin Yutong were sitting at the back. Wei Chang turned his head around and asked, "Your Honor, is there a reason why you came here today?" I went to visit Lai Gu yesterday, so I came here today to see how you are doing," Yi Hua said indifferently. Wei Chang immediately felt overwhelmed by the favor. "Your Honor is truly considerate towards subordinates." "That is natural." Qin Yutong really wanted to expose brother-in-law's true colors. He just ran out to freeload a meal because he has no food to eat. "That's right, how are Yi Hong and Zishan getting along?" Yi Hua asked. Wei Chang paused for a moment, then said, "The relationship between the two is much better than before, just that, they have yet to reach his honor's request." "Oh? Zishan isn't pregnant yet?" "She isn't." Chapter 384. The heart of Tang Wei, who was driving, also sunk. Even Wei Chang felt that his honor's words had a hidden meaning. "Is his honor talking about me?" Wei Chang said with a smile, "Your Honor, the gap between Yi Hong and Zishan's status is too big, and they need to get used to each other. Besides, isn't there still half a month left? Who knows, maybe I'm pregnant." "Not necessarily. If that Zishan is still the same as before, then let's just kill her," Yi Hua said faintly. "I hate the feeling of gods acting high and mighty the most. Even I, the Supreme Overlord, do not act so pretentiously." Of course, Wei Chang wouldn't object. "Yes." Qin Yutong, who was at the side, also didn't say anything, because Qin Yutong knew that even if she said anything, it would be useless. If Qinya was here, she would definitely stop him. This was also the difference between the two sisters. They each had their own unique characteristics. Half an hour later, they finally arrived at the villa where the Green and Red brothers lived. Wei Chang got off the car and opened the door respectfully. Yi Hua and Qin Yutong looked at the villa in front of them and sighed with emotion. Qin Yutong pulled her brother-in-law, seemingly saying, "Look at your little brother's little brother. He is living even more freely than you." "Let's go," Yi Hua said faintly. "No matter how carefree he is still my subordinate, and I can take back everything that I have bestowed upon him." As Wei Chang and Tang Wei led the way, Tang Wei pressed the doorbell. Very quickly, the door was opened, and the person who opened the door was Zishan. Zishan could be seen wearing a white apron and seemed to be cooking. When Zishan opened the door, there was a trace of a smile on her face. However, when Zishan saw Yi Hua, who was outside, she immediately retracted that trace of smile, as if she had seen a ghost. Yi Hua saw this action of hers. Seems like in just a month's time, there is indeed some change, but it is not a big change. In actuality, Zishan's change in this 1 month was quite big. In the past, she was hostile towards everyone. But now, at the very least, she was no longer hostile towards Wei Chang and Tang Wei. At the very least, when Zishan opened the door just now, she revealed a slight smile. From this, it could be seen that Zishan was very happy. At this time, the Green and Red brothers hurriedly came out of the Green and Red brothers and greeted respectfully, "Your Honor." "Go in," Yihua said faintly. He was very dissatisfied with Zishan's attitude. Yihong seemed to have sensed it as well. This shouldn't be the case. Zishan's attitude towards me has clearly changed during this period of time. In the past, he was always cold and sarcastic. Now, he would smile from time to time and speak more often. The most obvious thing was that Zishan had started learning how to cook. Furthermore, he was exceptionally meticulous. When he was cooking, he referred to the teachings on the internet and was extremely precise in how many grams of sugar and how many grams of salt to add. The food that Zishan made was naturally very delicious. At the very least, Yihong was able to truly understand Zishan's intentions. Although there was no skin-to-skin contact, Yihong was already very satisfied with this kind of life. Yihong had almost forgotten about the deadline of 2 months. And today, his Honor's sudden arrival shattered Yihong's beautiful dream, causing Yihong to think of the 2-month promise. Yihong wasn't the only one who thought of this. Zishan had also thought of it. I feel that his Honor came over this time for this matter. But none of you could have imagined it. However, when he saw Zishan's attitude, he seemed to have changed his mind. Walking into the villa, Yihua sat on the sofa, while Qing Yutong sat at the side and peeled oranges for her brother-in-law. However, the others stood to the side, not daring to do anything. "Why are you all standing here? Those who need to cook, go cook," Yihua said faintly. "I only ate instant noodles for lunch, and I am a bit hungry. If I don't train my fleshly body, I won't be able to do anything." Zishan went to the kitchen, and Tang Wei followed her to help. "Brother-in-law, here." Qing Yutong peeled an orange and passed it to Yihua. Yihua took over the cup and said faintly, "Everyone, sit." "Thank you, Your Honor." Big Brother Green was also worried for little brother. Today, when his Honor comes up, he will definitely ask about it. Wei Cheng felt helpless. "This orange is rather sweet," Yihua couldn't help but say. Qing Yutong, on the other hand, was rather tactful as she laughed, "Brother-in-law, let me peel another one for you." And after pausing for a moment, Yihua asked faintly, "Yihong, how have you been recently?" Yihong suddenly stood up, appearing to be very nervous. "Your Honor, I have been doing well recently." Zishan, who was in the kitchen, turned her head around and looked at Yihong, feeling worried in her heart. Tang Wei, who was at the side, asked in a low voice, "Zishan, did you and Yihong do that?" Hearing that, Zishan's face turned slightly red, then shook her head. "Zishan, there is still some time left, you two better hurry up," Tang Wei reminded Zishan. "In the beginning, I felt that Yihong and Zishan weren't compatible, but after getting to know each other, they were actually quite good. The two of them complemented each other." Zishan remained silent. "Originally, I thought that I would be able to spend the last moments of my life like this, but as time passes, I feel more and more reluctant to part with Yihong." Even Zishan can't say what she is reluctant to part with. Is it Yihong? Perhaps. After Yihua, who was sitting on the sofa, heard what Zishan said, he nodded his head, then asked, "Have you two slept with each other yet?" Yihong's heart sunk. As expected, it still came. "Your Honor, not yet." Yihong didn't dare to lie to Yihua. "Is she not willing?" Yihong hurriedly explained to Zishan, "Your Honor, you misunderstood, it is my problem. Young people can't do it just because of this. Go and buy some medicine to eat." Yihua shook his head. "This person's physique is not good enough." "Your Honor has misunderstood, I am the one who is not prepared." Yihua's gaze turned cold. "It is you who is not willing. It is she who is not willing. It is I who is not willing." Zishan, who was in the kitchen, suddenly walked out and shouted out. After hearing that, Yihang's expression changed, then explained, Your Honor, it is subordinate who is not willing, it has nothing to do with Zishan. Qin Yutong finally understood what was going on. In actuality, the two of them liked each other, and it was just that Zishan couldn't put down her face. Yihua said gravely, Since the two of you are not willing, let's have our last meal today. Yihang was frightened, and she immediately knelt in front of Yihua. Your Honor, I am willing to bear any responsibility for Zishan. Yihua took the orange from his sister-in-law's hand. Don't say anything now, let's eat first. Your Honor, Wei Cheng shouted out gravely, Yihang. He warned Yihang not to anger his honor anymore. Yihang took a look at Zishan and discovered that Zishan's eyes were red. What are you still standing there for? Quickly go and cook. Yihua looked at Zishan, who was standing there motionlessly, and shouted out gravely. Why is this woman so foolish? Doesn't she know how to please me? She is still resisting even now. These women nowadays, it is even harder for them to lower their heads than to reach the heavens. Wei Cheng took a look at Tang Wei, and the latter pulled Zishan into the kitchen. However, right now, Zishan was no longer in the mood to cook. Tang Wei was able to understand Zishan's feelings, and she began to cook herself. Just now, when Zishan saw Yihang pleading for her and kneeling down, Zishan felt her heart ache. This is a feeling that I have never felt before. And when he said that today is his last meal, he should be trying to kill me, right? Looking at Yihang, who was sitting there not saying a word, Zishan suddenly felt a bit reluctant to die. This was not because she was afraid of death, but rather, she was reluctant to part with Yihang. The scene of Yihang taking revenge for her couldn't help but appear in Zishan's mind, and her heart immediately began to ache faintly. Yihua had successfully instigated a deity to rebel against him. To be more precise, it was Yihang who moved a deity with her sincerity. Wei Cheng, telling family's people to tell them that the person is here. Yes. Letting out a breath, Yihua looked at Yihang, who was kneeling down, and said faintly, Yihang, do you think that she will care about you when you are like this? This subordinate is willing to do this. Yihang said in a low voice. As long as his honor is willing to spare Zishan's life, I am willing to do anything. Yihua nodded his head, seemingly agreeing with what Yihang said. Soon after, Yihua said, Yihang, I can agree to your request, and I can even remove the restriction between the two of you. It was too sudden. Yihang had never expected this. She was so shocked that she didn't know what to say. Zishan didn't expect that Yihua would let her off. You two are still too young. Yihua had just changed his mind. Yihang, are you willing to use all of your strength to exchange for her freedom? Yihua asked. This kind of choice was very difficult for a person to make. Strength, this was a world where strength was respected. Without strength, Yihang would still be that little hooligan from before. With strength, Yihang would be able to stand above a lot of people. However, to use all of one's strength to exchange for the freedom of a woman who didn't like them, it seemed like a lot of people already had their own answer. However, Yihang was still Yihang. He didn't become arrogant just because he had powerful strength. Your Honor, I am willing. Yihang, you have to think this through clearly. There is a possibility that she will return to Ying family, and you will become nothing. Yihua reminded once again. Your Honor, I have already made up my mind. Thank you, Your Honor, for taking care of me during this period of time. I have failed to live up to Your Honor's expectations. Big Brother Green sighed. How many men are willing to give up everything for a woman? I thought that all of those women were fake, but I didn't expect that my little brother was the same as well. Yihua said gravely, all right. Yihua stretched out his hand and immediately sucked out Yihang's ability. Black mist drilled out from Yihang's eyes, ears, nose, and mouth, causing Yihang to howl out in pain. At this moment, only then did Zishan come back to her senses and shouted out miserably, no. Chapter 386. However, Zishan was not able to feel any bit of happiness from freedom. Seeing how much pain Yi-hong was in, what kind of freedom would she want? Yi-hong. Zishan could be seen running towards Yi-hong and hugging onto Yi-hong. Zishan's heart was aching faintly. Yi-hong was just a bit exhausted, but seeing that the person she liked was fine, Yi-hong was very satisfied. With a smile on her face, she said, Zishan, you are finally free. Why are you so stupid? Zishan raised her fist and lightly punched at Yi Chin, just like a little girlfriend who was acting coquettishly. Yi-hong smiled foolishly and said, Big brother often says that I'm stupid. After finished speaking, Yi-hong faced Yi Hua and shouted out respectfully, Your Honor, thank you. No need, because it's all up to you now. These words caused Yi-hong and Zishan to be startled. Suddenly, 3 powerful auras appeared, and this caused Zishan's beautiful face to change. His Highness men had arrived. Zishan, it seems like someone has come to bring you home. Yi Hua said calmly. This group of people came quite quickly. Yi-hong slowly stood up. Her physical strength had also recovered quite a bit. Yi-hong smiled and said, Zishan, then I will send you back. Big Brother Green really wanted to slap Big Brother Green. The other person was obviously going to stay behind for you, and you still want him to leave? Is there something wrong with your brain? Then, let's go out and say our goodbyes. Don't disturb my mood of watching TV. Yi Hua said calmly. He was very curious if Zishan would leave or not. Yi-hong had indeed thought that Zishan would leave, so she wanted to send Zishan off. Let's go. Yi-hong's tone was still filled with reluctance, but what else could she do? His honor was able to keep her body, but he was unable to keep her heart. Yi-hong held Zishan's hand and walked out of the villa. After the two of them left, Qing Yutong shook her head, what a fool. Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads. Even Yi Hua felt that Yi-hong was foolish enough to not understand a woman's heart. This was something that he had to learn from the main body. However, the dragon rebel sword, which had been set aside, seemed to be very embarrassed and ignored. The two walked out of the villa and happened to run into Lin Hong and the other two. Zishan didn't want to cause trouble in front of her house, so she disappeared with Yi-hong. Lin Hong and the other two were slightly taken aback and followed. However, their gazes were filled with astonishment, because just now, that man seemed to be holding on to Madame Zi Yuan's hand. Zishan had chosen an open plain. Right now, Yi-hong was feeling a little dizzy. He who does not have the strength to fly at such a high speed would not be able to withstand it, and his nose was already bleeding. Seeing that Yi-hong's nose was bleeding, Zishan used her sleeves to wipe it off. Right now, it was the posture of a woman hugging a man. Yi-hong, who was lying in Zishan's embrace, opened her eyes in a daze, then looked at Zishan's chest and muttered, so big, so round. Zishan, if this had happened more than a month ago, Yi-hong would have no impression of him at all. Perhaps he would have really left just like that. Yi-hong seemed to have woken up, and when she saw that she was actually lying in Zishan's embrace, she immediately left Zishan's embrace and explained, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose. That's right, Yi-hong had always been very polite and courteous to Zishan. However, he was also very concerned about Zishan. It's just that his EQ is a little low. This is giving Zishan a headache. Forget it. Zishan said indifferently. Yi-hong heaved a sigh of relief. This person was about to leave. She couldn't leave a bad impression. Zishan, will you return? Yi-hong asked weakly. Zishan really wanted to learn from Big Brother Green and slap the back of Yi-hong's head. Yi-hong actually dared to ask such a stupid question. Without waiting for Zishan to reply, Lin Hong and the other two rushed to the scene, then knelt down on one knee and shouted out, Subordinates Lin Hong, San Qi, and Li Li, greet Madame Zi Yuan. Yi-hong looked at the three people in front of her. Are these the people who are on Zishan's side? My mood is very disappointed. Stand up. Right now, Zishan was emitting out a noble aura, as if she had turned into a high and mighty deity. This caused Yi-hong to be unable to differentiate which one was the real Zishan. Lin Hong and the other two stood up and stared at Yi Hong. San Chi shouted out sternly, audacious. Madame Zi Yuan is not someone a lowly person like you can touch. Right now, Yi Hong was still holding on to Zi Shan's small hand. Hearing that San Chi had shouted out for her to stop, Yi Hong let out a sigh and let go of Zi Shan. This wasn't because she was scared by San Chi, rather, she was reminded by San Chi that it was time for her to let go of Zi Shan's hand. Although it hasn't been 2 months, but every single day was much happier than before. Eating the food that Zi Shan cooked, watching Zi Shan's figure that was busy in the kitchen, was a kind of happiness. This made Yi Hong realize what love was. It was very sweet but also very sour. Lin Hong said respectfully, Madame Zi Yuan, His Highness is summoning you back. Zi Shan took a deep breath. It seemed like she had made some kind of decision. The kind of life that she had in the past was not what she wanted. Call me Zi Shan. Lin Hong and the other two were slightly startled, not understanding what Madame Zi Yuan meant. Tell Prince Ho that I won't go back. Zi Shan's following words made Lin Hong and the other two dumbfounded. Yi Hong was shocked. Her mouth was agape in disbelief. Could it be that she was deaf? Just a moment ago, Zi Shan said that she wasn't going back. Lin Hong reacted and squeezed out a smile. Madame Zi Yuan, please don't make things difficult for me. Today is Prince Ho's birthday. What does his birthday celebration have to do with me? He is my husband. Zi Shan held on to Yi Hong's hand and encouraged Yi Hong. At the same time, Zi Shan was also expressing her stance. Even a fool would be able to see through such an attitude, let alone Yi Hong. Of course, she would be able to understand. Not only did Zi Shan not return, she even admitted her identity. Heavens! Happiness was too sudden. This time, he really had a wife. Lin Hong observed Madame Zi Yuan and muttered, Madam, did you fall under some kind of demonic technique? Madam, you don't have to worry, Prince Ho will naturally undo these restraints. Zi Shan snorted coldly, demonic technique? Zi Shan could be seen hugging onto Yi Hong's waist, then slightly tiptoed and kissed Yi Hong. Yi Hong's mind was completely blank. Compared to the first time they kissed, the kiss this time was exceptionally sweet. As a man, Yi Hong naturally wouldn't let Zi Shan bear the pressure alone. Taking the initiative, Yi Hong hugged onto Zi Shan's waist with both of her hands and enjoyed Zi Shan's cherry lips. In such a situation, Lin Hong and the other two completely treated Lin Hong and the other two as air. They foolishly watched as their madam kissed a lowly person. After a long while, the two of them gradually separated from each other, and a long silver line was actually pulled out from each other's lips. Zi Shan, are you really not going to leave? Yi Hong couldn't help but want to confirm. Zi Shan revealed out a very natural smile, then looked at Yi Hong and said, I'm not leaving. If I leave, who will cook for you? That's great. Yi Hong was excited like a child as he hugged onto Zi Shan and spun around. If Yi Hong didn't put in any effort, Zi Shan wouldn't have fallen in love with him. Chapter 387. Of course, there was another possibility, and that was, fortune favors fools. This was something that could not be solved. Up until now, within Yihua's entire subordinate group, there were only 3 people who had good luck. The first one was Death Mage. With his skeleton body, he was able to flirt with a big sister. Furthermore, there was even a language barrier. Yihua didn't even understand how Death Mage managed to flirt with Sun Fang. Yihua imagined that if he were to reveal his true body in front of Qingye and Dongwang Baiji, the 2 women would definitely roll their eyes and faint. The second is Zhu Tian. His luck is also very good, because he has a woman that everyone wants to bully, Dongfang Yuer. After all, with Dongfang Yuan's looks, coupled with her delicate demeanor, she was truly a beauty. However, only Absolute Heaven could bully her. Hence, it could be said that Absolute Heaven was also a lucky person. The third lucky person would naturally be Yi Hong. The difference in status between him and Zi Shan was obvious. Although Zi Shan was being restricted by Yihua, Zi Shan wasn't afraid in the slightest. At most, she would just die. However, under Yi Hong's care and consideration, Zi Shan seemed to have gradually fallen for Yi Hong. In actuality, ever since that day when Zi Shan died, Zi Shan had begun to slowly fall for Yi Hong. Because, this was the first time she had seen a man go crazy for her. That kind of feeling was something that she had never experienced before. Yi Hong had used her sincerity to move Zi Shan, while Absolute Heaven and Death Mage had used brute force to subdue Zi Shan. There was a difference between the two. Let's talk about the unluckiest. Of course, it was the Supreme Overlord Yi Hua. The reason why Yi Hua was unlucky was because his luck was too good, to have met two women that he couldn't afford to offend. Of course, Yi Hua liked the two of them. If not, why would he pamper them so much? Even if they were separated right now, wasn't this another kind of pampering? However, looking at the way things were going, Yi Hua planned to create the most compassionate team. Hee, you're thinking too much. Lin Hong's eyes were filled with killing intent as he shouted, Madam Zi Yuan, please pay attention to your manners. You are smearing Marquis Wang Ye's reputation. Yi Hong placed Zi Shan down. Now that Zi Shan wasn't leaving, Yi Hong naturally wouldn't let her go. All of you listen to me, Zi Shan isn't leaving anymore, all of you quickly go back to sleep. Yi Hong shouted. Sanchi shouted angrily, where did this ant come from? To actually speak such arrogant words and even take advantage of Madame Zi Yuan, I think that you are tired of living. Zi Shan pulled Yi Hong behind her. After all, Yi Hong did not have any strength right now, and they would be able to kill Yi Hong with just a single strand of her hair. Go back and tell Lord Ho that our fate has come to an end. Tell him to take care of himself. Lin Hong asked gravely, Madame Zi Yuan. You have to think carefully. The consequences of what you are doing right now is very serious, if this matter were to reach Marquis Wang Ye's ears. Lin Hong, you don't need to explain, I know, but I also want to give Prince a word of advice. There is always someone better out there, don't act recklessly. Right now, Zi Shan also seemed to have the intention of hugging onto Yi Hua's thigh. With Yi Hua here, there is no need for us to be afraid of any marquis or princes. Even if someone from the royal family comes, there is no need for us to be afraid. Lin Hong sighed, he turned his palm, and a huge black blade appeared in his hand, while Sanchi had a long whip in her hand, and Lili had a pair of sharp claws in his hand. These three weapons were all ancient godly equipment. Prince Ho has ordered me to bring Madame Zi Yuan back. Pardon me for offending you. Go. After finished speaking, Lin Hong leaped high into the air, and the huge blade slashed towards Zi Shan. A huge godly might was emitting out from the blade, and Zi Shan's beautiful hair fluttered wildly as she slightly raised her head. A ribbon drilled out from Zi Shan's sleeve and emitted out a greenish-white colored glazed light, looking very beautiful in the night sky. Bang! The two actually let out a metallic clashing sound, and a huge shockwave exploded out from the center of Yi Hong's heart. The shockwave was deafening. Although Yi Hong, who had turned into an ordinary person, was protected by Zi Shan, blood was already flowing out from his ears, and his eyes were bloodshot. This kind of pressure was not something that an ordinary person could experience. San Qi and Li Li, who were at the back, immediately joined the battle, and Zi Shan did not dare to be careless. These three could be considered as Lord Ho's capable subordinates, and their battle strength was not ordinary. They were still able to fight one-on-one, but to fight one against three, they would not be able to handle it. Yi Hong also knew that he was a burden, so he quickly ran away. Don't give Zi Shan any trouble, or go back and call Big Brother over. Looking at Yi Hong, who was running away, Lin Hong shouted out to San Qi, capture that man. Yes. Seeing that San Qi was going to capture Yi Hong, Zi Shan hurriedly went to stop San Qi. However, Li Li directly intercepted San Qi, and with Lin Hong restraining San Qi, Zi Shan could only watch as San Qi captured Yi Hong. With a hostage in their hands, Lin Hong and Li Li both stopped. Let him go. Looking at San Qi, who was strangling Yi Hong's neck, Zi Shan's beautiful eyes became bloodshot, and the pressure that Zi Shan released from her body gradually rose. Lin Hong said faintly, I can let him go, but you have to go back with us and report to us. Alright, I'll go back with you all. Zishan agreed without even thinking. No, don't. With Sanchi strangling Yihong's neck, it was very hard for Yihong to even speak. Sanchi smiled in disdain, then slightly increased the strength of its grip. A lowly ant dares to cling onto a dragon. I dare you to touch him again. A vicious aura burst out from Zishan's body, and a blood net actually appeared behind Zishan. Lin Hong's heart sunk as he hurriedly said, in order to prevent Madame from escaping, subordinate has to use a bit of means. Lin Hong stretched out his palm, and a red rope appeared on his palm. Lin Hong then threw the red rope towards Zishan. The red rope was emitting out a faint light, seems like it is also an ancient godly item. In an instant, Zishan was bound by the red rope. Seeing that Zishan was bound by Zishan, the huge blade in Lin Hong's hand slashed out an afterimage. Puchi. The huge blade pierced into Zishan's back, and the tip of the blade was exposed at Zishan's chest area. Yihong lowered his head and looked at the tip of the blade on his chest area, then spat out a mouthful of blood. Sanchi and Lili's expressions were filled with mockery. A lowly person dares to say such words, he is truly reckless. Zishan was completely stupefied. I watched as they killed Yihong, and I was so stupid that I thought that they would let Yihong go, but they didn't plan to let me go at all. Lin Hong used the huge blade in his hand to raise Yihong's body up high, and the blood on Yihong's body seemed to be like a faucet that was turned on, flowing all the way down. After raising Yihong in front of Zishan, Lin Hong said gravely, Madam Ziyuan, your end won't be any worse than his. To actually dare to make a cuckold of Prince Ho. In this world, there is only one woman who dares to do such a thing. Yihong's eyes were almost unable to open. Looking at Zishan who was in front of him, Yihong smiled and comforted Zishan, Zishan, don't worry, my skin is thick, I won't die. However, right after Zishan spoke, blood began flowing out from her mouth non-stop. Zishan was unable to bear it anymore, and 2 streams of tears flowed down from her eyes. Yihong, don't talk anymore. This Madame Ziyuan actually managed to make a breakthrough amidst her grief. Let's go. As expected, Lin Hong gave the order. Zishan, who had just broken through, was killing them like killing chickens. Zishan shouted, you want to leave? Leave your life here. Under Zishan's powerful pressure, the spirit-binding rope shook violently and instantly turned into specks of starlight. As for the blood net behind Zishan, it actually materialized. With a ghostly wail and wolf howl, it attacked the 3 of them. Sanchi and Lili looked at each other, their eyes showing determination. Brother Lin. Leave. Brother Lin, Lili can't follow you anymore. Sanchi and Lili knew that if they didn't make a sacrifice, the 3 of them wouldn't be able to leave. Lin Hong turned his head to look at his subordinates that had always followed him, but now was not the time to be pretentious. Your vengeance, Marquis Wang Yi will naturally take revenge. The 2 of them smiled and looked at the incoming blood net. Dark Wolf Fist. Heaven's Sealing Demon. Lili and Sanchi used their strongest technique at the same time. Green and golden radiance flickered in the air. The radiance was dazzling and beautiful, and the radiance brought along a huge destructive power as they attacked towards the blood net. However, when the radiance came into contact with the blood net, it was actually devoured alive. However, the radiance was only able to resist for 1 second. Although the radiance was only able to resist for 1 second, it was enough for Lin Hong to return to Heaven's mansion and report what happened today. The 2 of them turned their heads around and took a look, then let out a sigh of relief. Brother Lin has finally returned. Sanchi and Lili looked at the conversation between the 2 of them and smiled, then bumped fists together. In our next life, we will still be good brothers. Good brothers. There were no living beings within the blood net. In an instant, Sanchi and Lili were devoured, not even a bit of them remained. The blood net in the air gradually disappeared as well. Zishan coughed out a mouthful of blood. The huge burden on Zishan's body caused Zishan to feel indescribable pain. However, compared to Yi Hong's pain, Zishan's pain was nothing. Dragging her heavy body, Zishan arrived in front of Yi Hong. Right now, only by rushing back can Yi Hong be saved. After all, even I managed to survive last time, let alone Yi Hong. While carrying on to Yi Hong, Zishan disappeared from the scene. Within the villa's living room, Yi Hua was eating the grapes that his sister-in-law peeled. I feel that the grapes taste pretty good. This sister-in-law of mine can be developed into a subordinate. Your Honor, aren't you going to go and take a look? Wei Chang asked carefully. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said indifferently, this Zishan shouldn't be leaving. Let the two of them go out and strengthen their relationship. After all, there are 3 antagonists. But Your Honor, didn't you just take back Yi Hong's strength? Wei Chang asked puzzledly. Yi Hua shook his head. Wei Chang, why are you so straightforward? Didn't you see that Tang Wei who is beside you is also looking at me with a gaze of disdain? It is precisely because she lost her strength that the things that she does are even more magnificent. Wei Chang had an I understand look on his face, but in actuality, he was thinking, does this matter? It was indeed shocking to the point that I almost died. Zishan could be seen returning to the villa while carrying on to Yi Hong who had lost her life. Right after opening the door, Zishan collapsed. That blood net used up all of Zishan's spiritual energy. Big Brother Green hurriedly ran over, and when he saw Zishan and his little brother's state, he asked anxiously, what happened to you two? Save Yi Hong. Zishan shouted out weakly. Yi Hua stood up and walked over. Taking a look at Yi Hong, Yi Hua's brows wrinkled tightly, what happened? It's all my fault, please save him, I'll listen to you in the future. I don't dare to disrespect you, Your Honor. After finished speaking, Zishan kneeled in front of Yi Hua. I am asking you what is going on. Yi Hua shouted out coldly. My underling's underling was killed, isn't this the same as slapping my face? I thought that Zishan would be able to protect Yi Hong, but I didn't expect that Zishan would actually die. Zishan told Yi Hua about the entire process, and this caused Yi Hua to be very unhappy. Your Honor, let me exterminate them. After all, Yi Hong is one of my people. Wei Chang was the first to ask for permission. These gods had really lived for a long time. Why don't you take a look at who you're working for? Tang Wei said respectfully, Your Honor, I am willing to go together with Wei Chang. Your Honor, I also want to go and take revenge. Big Brother Green said with red eyes. Yi Hua took a deep breath, then looked at Zishan and said, what about you? Zishan slowly raised her head, her beautiful eyes were ice cold, and she said in an awe-inspiring tone, Your Honor. I do. Good. Zishan, I will give you this chance, I will let you take revenge for Yi Hong. This is a blood tank, when you fill up this blood tank, I will be able to revive Yi Hong. However, if you are unable to do so, you should know the consequences. Yi Hua stretched out a white container. Qin Yutong looked at the white container, and when she saw that the white container looked like a bottle that contained red wine, Qin Yutong took a look at the dining table, and sure enough, the white container disappeared. Chapter 389. Kill Deities. The more you kill, the more you will be able to gather. Yi Hua made a grabbing motion with his palm and grabbed onto the dragon rebel's sword that was lying at the side, then tossed it over to Zishan. Then he said, Wei Chang, help treat her. Yes. A black fog came out from Wei Chang's palm. Zishan knew that this was not an ordinary thing. She took a deep breath and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. After a while, Zishan suddenly opened her eyes. Her pupils were incomparably pitch black. She could feel the power in her body, and she felt as if she could split apart the entire heavenly palace. Go quickly and return quickly. Yi Hua said faintly. Yes. After finished speaking, Zishan disappeared from the villa. After Zishan left, Yi Hua said towards Wei Chang, save him, he looks really uncomfortable. All right, Your Honor. Wei Chang smiled. Wei Chang indeed looked awkward. He threw out another ball of black mist. After Yi Hong, who was lying on the ground, breathed it in, her face gradually turned rosy. In less than a minute, he immediately opened his eyes and asked, "Where did Zishan go?" Big Brother Green slapped onto the ground. "Why aren't you thanking His Honor for saving you, fool?" Yi Hong hurriedly kowtowed and thanked His Honor. "His Honor is too good to me. Not only did His Honor give me strength, His Honor even saved me, and even gave me such a good wife. As long as His Honor says the word, I will be willing to go through fire and water." Yi Hua walked to the sofa and said faintly, "Wait for your wife to come back. At that time, remember to play dead." Big Brother Green told Yi Hong about what happened just now, and after Yi Hong heard about it, she felt extremely touched. "So, Zishan actually likes me. Yutong, peel an orange. Brother-in-law, you ate too much food that starts a fire." Qing Yutong pouted. "Let's go and cut a watermelon then. After eating this watermelon, Zishan should be back by then. Qing Yutong is really convinced, coming to my little brother's house to eat and drink to his heart's content, he is too stingy." Just now, Yi Hua was indeed in a bad mood, and he wanted to directly go over and kill the other party. However, after he calmed down, he felt that it would be better to let Zishan go. "After all, it is time for me to settle this matter." At this time, the Marquis Palace was brightly lit. The birthday banquet was obviously not over yet, but all the important figures had left. After all, they had seen this kind of occasion many times. For example, Wu Man and Che Hongliang had both left. It had to be said that these two people were very lucky. They walked really fast. Ho Shuilin sat on the main seat, admiring the dance of the young ladies. He was thinking about where to sleep today. They saw Lin Hong running over in a panic. Everyone looked at the guard's panicked expression and were puzzled. Did something happen? Ho Shuilin frowned slightly. He rarely saw Lin Hong like this. Arriving beside Prince Ho, Lin Hong lowered his body and said softly, "Prince Ho, we have found Madame Zi Yuan." "Just that, but what?" Ho Shuilin was a little excited. "He couldn't be dead, right?" Lin Hong said gravely, "Madame Zi Yuan already has a man outside." Hearing those words, Ho Shuilin suddenly laughed coldly. His lips twitched as he clenched his fists tightly. A terrifying godly might burst forth from him, completely uncontrollable. The dignified Marquis Wanye had been cuckolded. If this matter were to spread out, would he still have any face left? The guests below also felt Ho Wanye's anger. Something big must have happened. Just when everyone was feeling puzzled, a beautiful figure suddenly walked out slowly. "My God, this is Madame Zi Yuan. Is this Madame Zi Yuan? She is truly beautiful. Even a sky immortal is only so-so, her figure is truly wonderful. Prince Ho sure is fortunate to have such a beautiful wife. If I had such a beautiful wife, I wouldn't even take a second step out of my house." "That's because you guys have never seen Qingye and Baiji before. They are the true beauties. At the very least, they are a grade higher than Zishan. Just by looking at them, one would have a physiological reaction." However, very quickly, someone noticed the bloodstain on Madame Zi Yuan's dress, the dragon rebel's sword in her hand, and that faint killing intent. Ho Shuilin stared fixedly at Zishan, who was walking over, and a burst of viciousness immediately erupted from his body. "Damned woman! You still have the face to come back." Zishan silently looked at that sinister and ugly face, and suddenly realized that Yi Hong was thousands of times better than him. If it wasn't for him sending people down, Yi Hong wouldn't have died. "Today, I am going to kill you, shameless woman, and use your head as a sacrifice to the heavens." Ho Shuilin no longer concealed his strength, and immediately, a boundless godly might burst forth from him. Everyone's expression became greatly startled. Has this Prince Ho gone mad? Killing his wife in front of everyone's eyes? Zishan said coldly, "I am going to use your head as a sacrifice to the heavens for my love." Hearing that, everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. No wonder Prince Ho is so angry, so it turns out that Zishan has a man outside. And now, she is even more arrogant, she is truly too daring. Prince. I will lend you a helping hand. Prince, I will come as well. This kind of woman should be hacked into pieces. I will come as well. I hate women who cheat on me the most. Shoo, 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 your highness is listening. Zishan snorted coldly, then shook the dragon rebel's sword in her hand and immediately raised it up. A thin silver thread appeared in the air. The silver thread was so fast that it was impossible to see it with naked eyes, and the silver thread was so fast that it was impossible to even sense the spiritual energy contained within it. This silver thread cut through everything, and no matter what it was that came into contact with the silver thread, it was all cut into two. Because the silver thread was too fast, it didn't even cut into two. You dare to play around with such insignificant skills in front of me, you reckless woman. Ho Shuolin immediately took out a sword. When the sword appeared, a shocking godly might was emitted out from it. This was definitely a weapon that was above ancient godly item. Die. Sumeru's sword intent. Ho Shuolin furiously shouted. The sword chi that soared into the sky condensed together, causing everyone to be dumbfounded. The terrifying sword will swept out in all directions, and the sword chi that was at the center of the sword will rush towards Zishan. The silver thread passed through the sword intent in Ho Shuolin's hand, passed through Ho Shuolin's neck, and even passed through the buildings behind him. All of this happened in an instant, and Ho Shuolin still had a sinister smile on his face. The terrifying sword intent did not disappear, it continued to attack Zishan, and everything that it passed through turned into a mess. However, when it was about to reach Zishan, it actually split into two and attacked the surrounding people. Immediately, miserable screams could be heard. The two sword intent exploded within the crowd, and some people directly turned into blood mist. The surrounding people were even more miserable. After all, death was only an instant, and they still had to endure the pain of having their arms cut off. However, the countless amount of blood mist was absorbed into the container in Zishan's hand. Zishan. I didn't expect you to have some strength. Then, receive another sword from me. Ho Shuolin did not feel anything strange about his neck, he only felt a chill. Zishan faintly said, then you need to have a sword. Ho Shuolin's gaze became serious, and he could see that his sword was starting to break from the tip. Chapter 390. Why don't I take a look at your hand first? Zishan said in a light voice, and her tone was completely emotionless. Ho Shuolin looked at the hand that was holding the sword. A neat line of blood emerged from the skin, and the middle finger and ring finger began to split apart. Ho Shuolin could only watch helplessly as his arms separated. No, this is impossible. Shock appeared in Ho Shuolin's eyes as he looked at Zishan, who was not far away from him. Suddenly, he felt that his neck was a little cold, as if it was moving, and the world in front of him had become crooked. Who is this person in front of me? Why didn't it have a head? Blood sprayed into the sky like a fountain, and then fell down. Ho Shuolin wanted to wipe the liquid off his face, but it was useless. Not right, this person's clothes in front of me looks like me, no, this is not possible, Marquis. Lin Hong exclaimed. Ho Shuolin's eyeballs were still moving. Since he was still alive, it could be seen that it was not so easy for a god to die. Take me away. Lin Hong hurriedly held onto Ho Shuolin's head and quickly fled the scene. However, just when he turned around, he saw Zishan. Zishan raised the dragon rebel's sword high up and slashed down. The entire world seemed to have fallen silent. Ho Shuolin was once again split into two halves. Lin Hong directly exploded on the spot, but Ho Shuolin still had a primordial spirit. Zishan made a grabbing motion in the air, and the primordial spirit that was charging forward seemed to have been sucked in, and it went straight towards Zishan's small hand. You shameless bitch, what else do you want? A series of shouts resounded from the primordial spirit. Zishan did not say anything. She gradually increased the strength of her left hand. Ho Shuolin panicked. Zishan. What are you trying to do? Stop. Zishan. In any case, we are husband and wife. A day as husband and wife means 100 days of love. Zishan said coldly, there is no gratitude between us, there is only hatred. Bang. Zishan directly destroyed Ho Shualin's primordial spirit. Rich people were indeed willful. Did they not know how awesome it was to refine a primordial spirit? He looked at the container. He didn't expect Ho Shualin to raise the price by a third. But this scene scared the people below. Prince Ho was one of the top 10 masters, but his spirit was crushed by his own wife. This was too cruel. Furthermore, the ancient divine artifact on the ground was directly cut into two. What kind of weapon could have such great power? This wasn't a woman at all. This was a demoness, a female bandit. A female demon who kills without blinking an eye. In order to save Yihong, Zishan was willing to fall into depravity. Yihong had saved Zishan twice. Zishan understood this kindness. Zishan was not a cold-blooded person, and she was touched by Yihong's tenacity. You have to learn from Yihong if you want to woo a girl. Actually, you can see how good you are to her. As long as you break through her last line of defense, she will be yours from now on. Just like the current Zishan, her heart had already followed Yihong. For Yihong, she had even started a massacre here and bathed the entire prince's mansion in blood. After a long while, when Zishan saw that the container was filled with blood, she let out a sigh of relief. Then, Zishan swept her gaze across the surroundings, and saw that there were corpses everywhere. Fresh blood flowed on the bluestone. Not a single person was left alive. After finishing everything, Zishan disappeared from the prince's mansion. However, not long after Zishan disappeared, a large group of people rushed out of the imperial palace and headed towards the prince's mansion. Not only the imperial palace, but there were also people rushing over from all directions. In the dark night, the long line of candles was very easy to recognize. Several groups of people rushed to the entrance of the prince's mansion. Looking at the entire prince's mansion, the smell of blood soared to the sky, and countless wronged souls were screaming and crying. Some of them were Wu Ma An's people, and some were Che Hongliang's people. As for the people who rushed over from the imperial palace, it was the current crown prince, Zhu Jingqing. The crown prince had a dignified appearance and elegant demeanor. His facial features were not a problem at all. If one were to take a look at him, he would indeed be a character. However, Wu Ma knew that the crown prince was actually very dissolute. In the past, he even tried to snatch Zishan from the prince. Unfortunately, he was a Prince Ho, and even the crown prince did not dare to directly snatch Zishan. After all, Prince Ho and His Majesty were sworn brothers. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Wu Ma'an and Che Hongliang respectfully greeted. Crown Prince Zhu Jingqing looked towards the prince's mansion and said with a grave expression, "This crown prince felt a blood light soaring to the sky from the imperial palace, and when I looked around, it was actually the prince's mansion. This crown prince was worried, so I specially brought my personal guards to check it out." Wu Man jumped down from his horse, kneeled on one knee, and said, "Your Highness the Crown Prince worries about the subjects and the people, you are my role model." Upon seeing that, Che Hongliang could only get down from his horse and kneel on one knee. After all, he was the Crown Prince. However, all of the guards kneeled on one knee. Zhu Jingqing enjoyed this moment very much. He was being supported by everyone. They had clearly come to check on the Prince Ho's mansion, but in the end, they had turned into flattery, and the souls inside were still screaming. "All of you, get up. Thank you, Crown Prince." Zhu Jingqing patted the unicorn he was riding on. The unicorn's snow-white fur looked very unique among the group, and it was obvious that he was the boss. "Guards, go and take a look at what is happening inside," Zhu Jingqing shouted gravely. 2 guards replied, then ran to the Prince Ho's mansion's entrance and opened the door. Boom! A blood light actually rushed out from within the Prince Ho's mansion, causing everyone to jump in fright, and the crown prince almost fell down from his horse. Roar! Roar! The blood light transformed into a human face that was screaming non-stop, and there were even more human faces inside the human face. However, the blood light seemed to be unable to rush out of the Prince Ho's mansion, as if it was imprisoned inside. Perhaps even Zishan didn't know about the passive ability of the Dragon Rebel Sword, and that passive ability was able to imprison the souls of the dead, thus achieving the effect of torture. There were countless deaths and injuries in the Prince Ho's mansion, and all of the souls that died had turned into blood light. This kind of thing was extremely rare. It was something that would only happen once in 1,000 years. Che Hongliang looked at the human face that was screaming in front of him and mumbled, "This is blood light." After Che Hongliang finished speaking, everyone's expressions sunk. Even Wu Ma An's expression was the same. Only Zhu Jingqing had a puzzled expression on his face. What the hell is this blood light? Wu Ma An, tell me what this crimson glow is. Zhu Jingqing asked. Wu Ma An hurriedly kneeled on the ground and begged for forgiveness. Your Highness, you absolutely cannot tell me this. Zhu Jingqing snorted coldly. What do you not dare to tell me? Just tell me what I am telling you. But, there is no but. Wu Ma An looked towards Che Hongliang, and the latter turned his face away. The Crown Prince is telling you to tell me, not me. Hurry up. Do you want me to punish you for your crimes? Wu Ma An hurriedly said, Your Highness, when the blood light appears, the country is in trouble. After hearing what Wu Ma An said, Zhu Jingqing went into a daze for a moment, then soon after, he laughed loudly. What bullshit is this? Just a blood light is enough to scare all of you to this extent. Your Highness, this matter concerns the fate of the country. It is better for us to report this matter to His Majesty. Che Hongliang suggested. Father has already fallen asleep. How can I, the Crown Prince, not make a decision for such a small matter? Men, follow me inside and take a look at the situation. After finished speaking, Zhu Jingqing jumped off the horse, pulled out his sword, and took the lead. The sword slashed towards the blood light, and a dazzling golden light emitted out from the tip of the sword, causing the blood light to instantly disperse. Chapter 391. Wu Ma An and Che Hongliang hurriedly followed after him. Not long after, they saw the Crown Prince vomiting at the side. Zhu Jingqing was not the only one vomiting, many soldiers were vomiting as well. Peace had been around for too long, and the soldiers had never seen such a scene. They almost vomited their guts out. When Wu Ma An and Che Hongliang saw this, they could not help but vomit. Looking at the entire front yard, the scene was indescribably tragic. Basically, there were pieces of corpses, and there were no complete corpses. Moreover, the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood, as well as a foul stench. After all, some of the intestines were exposed, and they were all filthy things. Zhu Jingqing couldn't take it anymore and ran outside. Unexpectedly, he stepped on something and tripped. His entire face sunk into a person's stomach. The problem was that the stomach was split open. Your Highness. Your Highness. Immediately, a group of people rushed over. Many people fell to the ground. The blood on the ground was sticky and had a lubricating effect. A few guards helped the Crown Prince up and found that the Crown Prince had fainted. They hurriedly carried him into the palace and summoned the imperial physician. Che Hongliang and Wu Ma An calmed down a lot, and they silently walked towards the marquis mansion. It turned out that the outside was just an appetizer. The inside was even more terrifying. Who was the one who made this? How inhumane. Old Che, the marquis should be dead. Wu Ma An said as he pinched his nose. Che Hongliang frowned deeply. Was Master Ho's death an accident or was it intentional? After all, many people benefited from Master Ho's death, such as the Crown Prince's faction and his own faction. Report. Found it. A soldier covered in blood ran over to report. Basically, all the soldiers' armors were stained with blood, which was stained when they turned over the corpses. Che Hongliang said in a deep voice, Bring him here. When they saw Ho Shuolin's corpse, Wu Ma An and Che Hongliang were stunned. They knew Master Ho's strength. At this time, Master Ho was divided into 3 parts. His right hand was connected to his head, and his head was divided into 2. From the looks of the wound, it was very neat, cut by a sharp blade. In the morning, the 3 of them were still discussing problems, but in the evening, their entire family was wiped out. The 2 of them couldn't help but wonder if they would have become one of these corpses if they hadn't returned. The answer was obvious. Not long after, the soldiers found Prince Ho's sword. Che Hongliang and Wu Man knew about this sword. It was an ancient divine weapon. It was not easy to obtain. Marquis Wanye's treasured weapon was actually cut in half. Who could have done this? Elder Che, even if His Majesty is resting, you still have to say something. Yes, let's go together. Che Hongliang also knew the seriousness of the matter. The palace was heavily guarded. There were more than 100 buildings of various sizes, but they surrounded the largest palace in the center like guards. However, this night was different from the past. There were many more patrolling soldiers, and the lights in the hall that should have been extinguished were now brightly lit. On both sides of the palace stood solemn-looking guards, all of them armed with swords. According to the rules, guards were not allowed to bring knives into the palace, but the situation today was different. On the throne was a middle-aged man with a dignified appearance. There was a mole at the corner of his mouth, making him look quite unique. He wore a yellow robe and was currently staring downwards. 3 of them were Crown Prince Zhu Jingqing, Wu Man, and Che Hongliang. The last one was Heavenly Teacher, Ying Wei. This was a white-haired old man, holding a long wooden stick in his hand. It looked very rough, as if it was directly chopped down from a tree. However, when this old man held it in his hand, it instantly felt different. Perhaps this was the aura of the old man. Ho Shualin, who was covered with a white cloth, was also in the hall. The dim light made the atmosphere in the hall very heavy, making it hard for people to breathe. Zhu Qingxian lightly knocked on the dragon head armrest and muttered, "Blood aura." Ying Wei cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, the appearance of the blood aura must be guarded against. In order to avoid danger, this official thinks that the imperial hunt should be cancelled." Zhu Qingxian said gravely, "Heavenly Teacher, let's not talk about the hunt for now. First, investigate the cause of Marquis Wanye's death." "Your Majesty, Marquis Wanye was cut into 3 pieces by a sharp blade." Che Hongliang said respectfully. "Open it and let me take a look." Zhu Jingqing said hurriedly, "Father, Marquis Wanye died a miserable death, or Crown Prince, according to the order of seniority, you still have to call him uncle. Even I have to call him big brother." "Father, you are right." Wu Man bowed and lifted the white cloth. Although the white cloth had been pieced together, the mark was still there. Everyone couldn't help but frown. When Zhu Qingxian saw Ho Shualin's corpse, he immediately let out a sigh of relief. "It's great that he died." "That's right." In the past, they used to address each other as brothers, but this Ho Shualin relied on his powerful strength and didn't even put the imperial family in his eyes. Furthermore, he had a lot of small tricks up his sleeves. If one day, Ho Shualin were to usurp the throne, Zhu Qingxian wouldn't be too surprised. "Where is Marquis Wanye's primordial spirit?" "Father, Marquis Wanye's primordial spirit has dissipated. I sensed this fluctuation and woke up from my bed. I went to check on the situation." Zhu Jingqing could be considered to be smart. He seemed to want to take all the credit for himself. Zhu Qingxian said faintly, "Crown Prince, you did well." Che Hongliang slightly frowned. Although this Zhu Jingqing looks very unrestrained, he is still very smart at times like this. "Did you find out who the murderer is? Is it a man or a woman? Is it tall or thin?" Zhu Qingxian asked, but he was just putting on a show. He really wanted to reward the murderer. "You did a good deed and helped me get rid of a great threat." Ying Wei said respectfully, "Judging from the strength and viciousness of the murderer, it should be a man, and he was also holding a special blade." "Celestial Teacher is right, but is there no one left alive in the Ho Palace?" Zhu Qingxian asked curiously. Father, today is Marquis Wanye's birthday. There are many guests present, including Marquis Wanye's family. None of them survived. Zhu Qingxian sighed and murmured, for thousands of years, there has never been such a tragedy in heaven's sanctum. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes. Also, bury Marquis Wanye properly. After all, he was my big brother. Yes. Wu Man cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, Marquis Wanye is already dead. The realm under his jurisdiction cannot be left unguarded. Che Hongliang hurriedly said. However, Zhu Jingqing was even faster. Father, I am willing to take over temporarily. I will wait for you to find a suitable candidate before handing it over. Che Hongliang cursed at his shamelessness and hurriedly said, Your Majesty, His Highness the Crown Prince already has a realm under his jurisdiction. I am afraid that His Highness the Crown Prince is overworking himself. Chapter 392. Wu Man admired the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince really knows how to speak. Zhu Qingxian smiled faintly and said, Father Emperor is very happy that the Crown Prince has such a thought. Prince Ho's plane will be temporarily handed over to the Crown Prince to look after, and we will choose another candidate in the future. Che Hongliang almost fainted from anger. Temporarily? Isn't this the same as giving the plane to someone else? Choosing another candidate, this is completely perfunctory. At this time, Ying Wei said again, Your Majesty, this hunt. Heavenly Teacher, you are making a big fuss over a small matter. Furthermore, the Huang family's hunt is a big matter for the entire royal family. Which year has it been missing? If it's missing this year, what will the people below talk about it? They will even say that I was scared to the point of trembling in the palace. Is it about this blood-red glow? Heavenly Teacher spoke again. This caused Zhu Qingxian to be a bit unhappy. Heavenly Teacher, these are all legends. But, alright, we will stop here for today, everyone can disperse. Zhu Qingxian waved his hand and shouted. This Ho Xuelin is dead, and you want me to not celebrate? Seeing the Emperor turn around and leave, Ying Wei let out a deep sigh. I would rather believe in the blood-red glow. Your Highness the Crown Prince, everyone, we have to persuade His Majesty about this blood-red glow. Ying Wei cupped his hands towards the three people and said politely. Zhu Jingqing knew that Father Emperor thought highly of Heavenly Teacher, so he greeted him with a smile. Heavenly Teacher is too serious, I will definitely pass on the message. Then I will have to trouble Your Highness the Crown Prince. Ying Wei gradually started to be satisfied with this Crown Prince's attitude. Zhu Jingqing smiled. After everyone dispersed, Wu Man smiled, Congratulations, Crown Prince, for obtaining His Majesty's appreciation and obtaining the right to rule over the plain. This is just a small matter, I can easily get it done. Zhu Jingqing smiled in disdain. Fight with me, whoever comes will die. Crown Prince is truly right. Wu Man praised. The more power the Crown Prince has, the better. Zhu Jingqing placed his hands behind his back and said, Go and make arrangements. We will go and find that Nuwa's descendant in a few days. I heard that Nuwa's descendant has a peerless appearance and innate strength. I am truly envious. Yes. Zhu Jingqing strode towards his bedroom, mumbling to himself, I wonder what kind of peerless beauties are in that plane. Wu Man heard all of this and bitterly smiled. If the Crown Prince focused on governing, he would definitely be very outstanding. In Long and City's villa. Yi Hua said faintly, They're here. Yi Hong lay down with a thud. Her face was as pale as a corpse. Qing Yutong was helpless. It was clearly a good thing, but in the end, because of her brother-in-law's actions, it became as if Yi Hong was trying to deceive Zi Shan. If Zi Shan were to find out that Yi Hong was deceiving Zi Shan, Yi Hong would have to blow up the matter. It was one thing for him to lie to his elder sister, but he still had to teach his subordinate. He was speechless. Zi Shan's body appeared in the living room. Zi Shan hurriedly walked in front of Yi Hua, then bent down and presented the container and dragon rebel sword to Yi Hua. Your Honor, everything is done. Yi Hua took a look at the blood qi within the container. This woman, when she starts being vicious and merciless, she is simply inhumane. She is even more savage than me. After keeping the dragon rebel sword, Yihua said faintly, "Pour this blood qi into his mouth." Zishan hurriedly stood up and carried Yihong, who was stiff all over, then poured her blood qi into Yihong's body. Yihong was also very cooperative, and her body gradually became ruddy. When Zishan saw the change in Yihong, she felt that everything was worth it, and 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks. Yihong slowly opened her eyes, and when she saw Zishan, a sincere smile appeared on her face. On the other hand, Zishan appeared to be a lot more unrestrained. In front of so many people, Zishan directly kissed Yihong's mouth. This was domineering. Looking at Uncle Wei, Tang Wei also felt envious in her heart. Uncle Wei doesn't even know how to kiss right now. Qing Yutong could not help but sigh. Even the cola is being poked by someone. Why is there no one poking me? Do you believe that I won't order you to break up immediately and never see each other again? Let's go, let's return. Yihua said gravely. Your Honor, I will send you back. Wei Chang hurriedly followed after Wei Chang. Green and Red brothers, Dai and Zishan shouted out respectfully, "Farewell, Your Honor." After his honor left, Yihong felt a bit embarrassed, and she didn't even dare to look straight at Zishan. Right now, the 2 of them were no longer bound by the shackles, and Yihong had also pierced through the layer of paper. Of course, there was still the final layer of paper that was not pierced through. Big Brother Green said with a smile, "I'm going to sleep, you guys do as you please, but keep your voice down." Yihong's face reddened as she scratched onto the back of her head and said, "That. I'm going to take a bath first. I'll get the hot water for you." No need, I can get the hot water myself." Yihong didn't dare to let Zishan do anything else. Walking into the bedroom, Yihong finished taking a bath while feeling nervous. Yihong discovered that Zishan was actually already lying on the bed. Right now, without the restriction of distance, they are able to sleep in separate rooms. Yihua thought to himself that Zishan might have gotten used to sleeping on the bed. "I'm going to sleep on the other side," Yihong said in a low voice. Zishan, who was lying on the bed, had a light red face. "Husband and wife have to sleep together. What do you mean by going to sleep on the other side? Are you going to divorce me?" Alright, this is Zishan's original personality. She is very straightforward, and of course, she is also a bit hot-tempered. Of course not. Then why aren't you coming over? Yihong had no other choice but to go over to Zishan and spread out the bed on the floor just like before. Zishan was almost speechless. "I already made it so obvious, go to the bed and sleep. Go to the bed and sleep." Zishan really couldn't take it anymore. "Every time I say something, he will move a bit." Yihong said in a low voice, "No need, I'm fine sleeping here. If I tell you to go to the bed, then go to the bed." "But I feel that." Yihong mumbled. "What's the matter?" Yihong let out a breath, then said gravely, "Zishan, I will work hard. When the day comes that I reach your height, I will sleep together with you. If not, Hearing that, Zishan laughed tenderly. This idiot, however, I like him being like this, and I am looking forward to Yihong's growth. Alright, I won't force you then, hubby," Zishan said sweetly. Hearing Zishan calling him hubby, Yihong almost screamed out in excitement. "I feel that everything I do is worth it, and I have motivation to do everything." Yihong was filled with confidence. "Hubby, you can be at ease, I will make you feel proud. And I am looking forward to that day." However, that day was still far away, causing Zishan to regret agreeing to Yihong's request. In the entire team, there were 3 people who were living like widows. The first was Sun Fang. She really couldn't do anything when facing a skeleton. The second was Tang Wei. She kept hinting at Wei Chang, but there was no reaction from Wei Chang. The third was Zishan. She was regretting agreeing to Yihong's request. If there was one more person, they would be able to form a table of mahjong. In the future, they wouldn't need a man anymore, they would just sit together and play mahjong every day. Comparatively speaking, Lai Gu's 3 wives were much happier, and Zhu Tian's 2 maids were both in pain and happiness at the same time. As the boss, Yi Hua was currently in a cold war. Compared to his subordinates, Yi Hua's situation had once again verified Qin Yutong's words. Chapter 393. After getting down from Wei Chang's luxurious Cayenne, Qin Yutong held onto Yi Hua's arm and said with a smile, "Brother-in-law, you are pretty good as a matchmaker, why don't you pay attention to your own matters? Sai, let's go to Zhu Tian's place tomorrow to freeload a meal. While we're at it, we can also go and ask how the progress is. It has already been more than a month." Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. "It has already been a month since we last met, and I am indeed starting to miss Zhu Tian a bit." Qin Yutong said tenderly, "Brother-in-law, since you want to go and take a look, why don't you go and take a look at the child?" Hearing his sister-in-law's suggestion, Yi Hua's eyes lit up. This is indeed a good idea. However, he quickly denied it. If he appeared, wouldn't that mean that he had lost? That wouldn't do. Not going. Fine, I've already said this many times, but brother-in-law, you're the one who doesn't listen. The two of them walked into the leisure bar. There was actually not a single customer inside, the business was already extremely bad. Yi Hua said gravely, "There are 4 people who skipped work tonight, Wei Chang, Tang Wei, the Green and Red brothers. 200 from each of you." Qin Yutong was speechless. "You are a supreme overlord, and right now, you are even swindling your little brother's money." On the evening of the second day, Yi Hua brought along his sister-in-law and arrived at Zijin University. Afterward, Yi Hua went to look for Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian brought his honor to the teacher's dormitory. Yi Hua sized up the room, and the room was even smaller than the room that I live in. "Zhu Tian, what are you going to eat tonight?" Yi Hua asked absent-mindedly. Zhu Tian stood at the side and said respectfully, "Your Honor, instant noodles." Yi Hua, Qin Yutong, Zhu Tian thought that his honor was worried about his food and drink, thus he hurriedly said, "Your Honor, there are many different flavors of instant noodles, you can be at ease, subordinate won't get tired of eating instant noodles." "When did I ask you if you were tired of eating? As the brains of the team, don't you know how to treat a meal?" Yi Hua said gravely, "Let's find a place to eat first while we talk." "All right, Your Honor, please follow me." As expected of a smart person, his brain worked quite fast. 10 minutes later, Yi Hua sat on the small stool and looked at the claypot rice in front of him, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Qin Yutong looked at Zhu Tian, then looked at his bowl of vegetables. He had finally found a subordinate who was even more miserable than his brother-in-law, and it wasn't just an ordinary kind of misery. Zhu Tian was also very embarrassed to actually bring his honor to such a small place for a meal. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained, "Your Honor, Yan Xian recently had a falling out with her family, and all of her funds were cut off. You didn't have much money to begin with, so she has been living frugally. Right now, they are even working at night to earn money." Yi Hua, Qin Yutong, Yi Hua felt that it would be better for him not to come and look for absolute heaven in the future. Absolute heaven is just too miserable. I reckon that even treating absolute heaven to a meal would cost him his life. While eating, Yi Hua felt very helpless. This is what it means to enjoy life. There is bitterness, but it is also rather interesting. "Your Honor, I have a plan in mind," Zhu Tian said. Yi Hua drank a mouthful of kelp soup. "Speak. There's no point in continuing to investigate like this. Why don't we lure the snake out of its hole?" Yi Hua placed down his chopsticks and became serious. "Be more detailed." In the past, Dongfang family's influence was too big, and they had gained a lot of benefits when distributing the longevity fruits. This was the reason why the 5 great families had the intention to kill them. If we were to imitate what happened back then, the 5 great families would definitely not be able to sit still. Furthermore, during this period of time, the 5 great families have been fighting with each other, causing some families to complain. This is a good opportunity. After listening to Zhu Tian's plan, Yi Hua felt that it was feasible. It was a good idea to face the current predicament. Alright, let's do that. Yi Hua's mood while eating became a bit better, as if he could already see his two wives retreating in defeat and returning home obediently. Zhu Tian stretched out his palm and poked Yi Hua with his thumb and index finger. Yi Hua's expression turned cold. What do you mean by this? Are you here to talk about money with me? Don't you know that talking about money is very hurtful to one's feelings? Your Honor, I need some startup funds. Yi Hua paused for a moment. If it's tens of thousands of RMB, I will just pool them together. If it's more than that, there's no way for me to talk anymore. How much? Yi Hua asked. Zhu Tian had already calculated the amount, and he said in a low voice, 500 billion is more or less enough. Qing Yutong spurted out her food. 500 billion? Brother-in-law doesn't even have 5,000 RMB on him, and even big sister doesn't have 500 billion. You might as well ask brother-in-law to go and rob others. As a supreme overlord, would you go and do such a lowly thing? Yi Hua looked at Zhu Tian, then immediately lowered his head. Zhu Tian, you are a smart person, and you even need money to solve such a small matter? I am very disappointed in you. Your Honor. Subordinate is wrong. Qing Yutong was very speechless. Brother-in-law is simply. As brother-in-law's subordinate, it seems like my life is so bitter. It's good that you know that you are wrong. Is a problem that can be solved with money still a problem? If I let you solve such a problem, wouldn't it be a waste of your talents? I am very optimistic about you. Yi Hua continued, with an expression of I am very optimistic about you. However, if you want money, sorry, I don't have a single cent. Zhu Tian was terrified. Subordinate understands. Subordinate will definitely do my best to solve this problem. That's more like it. Eat more, this meal is free. Qing Yutong, after finishing eating, Zhu Tian touched his pocket, and his expression changed. Your Honor, I forgot to bring my wallet. Check WeChat. Yi Hua said faintly. Your Honor, I don't have WeChat yet. Qing Yutong was already crying from laughing while hiding at the side. Brother-in-law came to freeload a meal, and in the end, he was freeloaded by his subordinate. As expected of a smart person. Yi Hua nearly flipped out, and when Zhu Tian felt his Honor's ice-cold gaze, he was so scared that he started trembling. I really forgot to bring my wallet, I didn't do it on purpose. After checking WeChat, Yi Hua said coldly, Yutong, let's go. Your Honor, take care. Zhu Tian said in a low voice. Looking at his Honor leaving, Zhu Tian let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, I didn't get my salary today. However, after coming to Zijin City, Yi Hua would naturally bring his sister-in-law to taste the snacks of Zijin City. Inside Ji family's ruins. 5 figures appeared. Of course, they were Crown Prince Zhu Jingqing and his lackey Wu Man. The other 3 men were very strange. Their height was exactly the same. They looked exactly the same. In any case, they looked exactly the same. The triplets were experts that Zhu Jingqing subdued. Originally, Zhu Jingqing wanted to bring more people with him just in case. However, after thinking about it, I am already an unrivaled existence in this low-level plane, let alone experts like these. I am being too careful. Stepping on the ruins, Zhu Jingqing said mockingly, this is one of Prince Ho's 3 big shots. This is how he looks like. What a weakling. Wu Ma-An's mind was still considered to be nimble. Sensing that there was a faint godly might in this place, Wu Man reminded, Your Highness Crown Prince, there is still a godly might remaining in this place. Chapter 394. Crown Prince, for His Highness to be able to make deities release their divine might, he must have met his match. As the Crown Prince's military advisor, Wu Ma-An was smart enough to guess this. However, the Crown Prince only knew how to bootlick, or perhaps he only knew how to be greedy. Zhu Jingqing snorted coldly, that means your skills are inferior. Your Highness, it's possible that the person who killed the Lord's mansion is hiding in this plane. The more Wu Man thought about it, the more scared he became. He wanted to persuade the Crown Prince to leave immediately. Zhu Jingqing glared at Wu Ma and shouted, "Who the hell are you?" Wu Man was so frightened that he immediately knelt down. Of course it's His Highness the Crown Prince's men. That's it. This Ho Shualin was still hiding the Donghuang clan. He has ulterior motives. Zhu Jingqing saw it when he came over to search. He had to admit that he was a little excited when he saw it. The Donghuang clan had been one of the most powerful beings among all the gods. Of course, there was also the Nuwa clan. It would be great if he could subdue the two clans this time. Go. Let's meet the Donghuang clan first. Zhu Jingqing was a little impatient. He had come with the identity of a crown prince, and he could get whatever he wanted. If anyone dared to disobey him, he would kill them. Wu Man reminded in a low voice, "Crown Prince, if there are any awakened ones in the Eastern Emperor clan, we still have to be careful. That Nuwa clan has already awakened." Zhu Jingqing smiled disdainfully. "Wu Man, why are you still acting so cowardly in this low-level world? Your Highness, this subordinate has a bad premonition. How about we go back?" Zhu Jingqing's eyes turned cold. "If you want to go back yourself. Don't appear beside this crown prince in the future." Wu Man had no choice but to follow. Right now, Voidless Realm had already regained its former glory, just that, the population of Voidless Realm had to slowly increase. After all, back then, a lot of people had died in that battle. Qingye and Donghuang Baiji were sitting in the courtyard, and they were actually learning how to knit sweaters. It seemed like he was bored out of his mind. "Ali, come over." Qingye called out tenderly. Donghuang Li ran all the way over to Qingye, then consciously opened up her hands and gestured towards Qingye, "Go and play." However, before Donghuang Li could even play with it, Donghuang Baiji shouted out again, "Ali, come here." Donghuang Li felt very helpless. Donghuang Li could only run over to her mother's side and spread out her hands. "All right, go play." Donghuang Li looked at the two adults and let out a deep sigh. "I wonder if Daddy is that free." Suddenly, Qingye frowned. "Qingye, what's wrong?" Donghuang Baiji immediately sensed that Qingye was acting strangely. "Someone's coming. It is the same as last time," Qingye said gravely. After finished speaking, she opened her cherry lips and showed Yihua that her mouth was really only so big, "I can't stuff it in. Let me help you." Yihua picked up a piece of stinky tofu. "Make your mouth bigger, that's right, keep your tongue in, keep your teeth in." After finished speaking, Yihua stuffed the stinky tofu into his mouth. "Hold it in your mouth first and feel that tender taste. Isn't it a bit strong? Do you want to bite it in one bite? Don't hesitate then." After Yihua finished speaking, Qing Yutong chewed on the stinky tofu and closed her beautiful eyes. Brother-in-law is right. Looking at his sister-in-law's satisfied look, Yihua nodded his head. Sharing my happiness with others can also make me happy. Just that, not long after, Yihua regretted, because Qing Yutong began snatching to eat the stinky tofu. "If I didn't share just now, all the stinky tofu would be mine. Sharing would only invite others to snatch it." Looking at brother-in-law's resentful look, Qing Yutong acted coquettishly and consoled him. "Didn't I just eat a few more pieces? Look at how stingy he is." "Your Honor, Young Honor just sent a secret report. The madams are in trouble." Wei Chang hurriedly contacted His Honor. Hearing that, Yihua's expression sunk. "I got it." Seeing that brother-in-law's expression suddenly changed, Qing Yutong knew that something had happened. "Brother-in-law, what happened?" "Something happened to your big sister." After finished speaking, Qing Yutong disappeared along with Qing Yutong. Arriving at Voidless Realm, Wei Chang quickly rushed over. The three of them were in invisible state and did not reveal themselves. Yihua was still very cautious. After all, it was very possible that his daughter had rebelled against him and came to cheat him, her father. However, sensing a few different auras, Yihua knew that his daughter wasn't lying. They were indeed in trouble. Chapter 395. Besides, if the deity were to appear now, he would definitely be ridiculed by them. Of course, there was another possibility. He would appear now and save the damsel in distress. Then, he would return with the damsel in distress and repeat the same trick. However, who was Yi Hua? Playing that kind of trick once was enough. If he were to play it again, it would be meaningless. Let's look at the situation first. With Qinya's ability, she should be able to defeat Ali. After all, Ali has already learned Deviant Fire. Although it is a weakened version of Deviant Fire, it is still very powerful. It would be fine as long as there were no accidents. However, these 5 people were really bold. I didn't go to look for you, but you came to find trouble with me. Furthermore, you directly went to find my woman. Last time, I already said something. You can't afford to offend my woman. Brother-in-law, are you not planning to make a move? The 3 of them stood at a corner of the palace, and Qing Yutong asked curiously. Yi Hua said faintly, take action? You're thinking too much. Do you think I'm the kind of person who would casually make a move? But, they are your wives. Qing Yutong was in disbelief. Is brother-in-law really going to be so ruthless this time? It's good for them to suffer a little. Only then will they know how important the reliability of this sovereign is. Qing Yutong was also speechless. Looking at my wife being bullied? Brother-in-law's heart was really big. Of course, Yi Hua wouldn't allow his wife to be bullied for no reason. When one becomes a tool, one must have the despair of being a tool. Since you all came to look for trouble with me today, then you all must consider that I, the Supreme Overlord, will also go and look for trouble with you all. Wei Chang, who was at the back, hurriedly recorded down his honor's words, so that it would be convenient for him and Tang Bingyao to use. Recently, Tang Bingyao's temper has been very bad, causing her to feel very uncomfortable. In the palace, Dong Huang Baiji, who was wearing a purple gown, was sitting on the throne, and below her was Crown Prince Zhu Jinqing. However, when Zhu Jinqing saw Dong Huang Baiji's appearance, he was completely stupefied. Such a woman doesn't even exist in my father's harem. This is what a truly stunning beauty looks like, a stunning beauty that is capable of starting a war. No wonder Ho Shualin wanted to raise her. It turned out that he had hidden such a beauty here. He was really lucky to have found her today. Wu Man knew what the crown prince was thinking. He was definitely thinking of seizing this woman. It had to be said that this woman was perfect. She had an imposing manner and temperament. She was indeed the best candidate to be the princess. At this time, Yuanda and the others stood on both sides, watching the 5 people in the middle with vigilance. Who are you people? Dong Huang Baiji asked faintly. How dare you? Wu Man shouted angrily. As someone from a low-class world, he really didn't have any self-awareness at all. When he saw the crown prince, he still didn't kneel. Yi Hua was very stingy. This man actually dared to shout at my wife. Yi Hua said to Wei Chang, record down this man's name. Yes, Your Honor. Qing Yutong rolled her eyes at her brother-in-law. Are you planning to settle the scores after the fall? And you still don't want to let the big sisters know about it? Zhu Jingqing immediately stopped his subordinate and said politely, this one is the Crown Prince of Heaven's Sanctum, Zhu Jingqing. Crown Prince. The hall was in an uproar. The person who came last time claimed to be from the Marquis residence, but today, the Crown Prince actually came. Something big was about to happen. Dong Huang Baiji seemed to have also sensed that the arrival of the Crown Prince was definitely not a good thing. The 3 men standing behind them were emitting out ferocious aura, and they were very hard to deal with. For what matter did Your Highness Crown Prince come here today? Dong Huang Baiji asked. Those 3 people must have gone back to inform on Crown Prince. However, what Dong Huang Baiji did not know was that those 3 people, along with their boss, were all killed in a single night. Zhu Jingqing revealed out a gentle smile. He looked very comfortable, just like a warm man. Yi Hua said faintly, record down this Zhu Jingqing's name. Qing Yutong clicked her tongue a few times. He is already getting jealous just like this? No wonder Big Sister said that brother-in-law is the king of jealousy in the cultivation world. Zhu Jingqing looked at Dong Huang Baiji, who was sitting on the throne. I really want to conquer a woman like this. The process should be very exciting. Shouldn't the Empress grant me a seat? Zhu Jingqing said with a slightly teasing tone. Upon thinking that the other party was the crown prince, and that the other party had brought along 3 valiant generals, in order to protect Voidless Realm, Dong Huang Baiji had no choice but to take a step back. Men, grant me a seat. However, Zhu Jingqing directly sat at the center of the throne, facing the Empress. Audacious! Xing Han shouted out angrily. This kind of behavior was a huge disrespect towards the Empress. You are the audacious one. Wu Man shouted out coldly. To actually speak rudely towards a crown prince of a deity. Zhu Jingqing shouted out gravely, Wu Man, can you not speak? Subordinate obeys. Zhu Jingqing laughed, subordinate is truly sorry, subordinate was lacking in manners. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, it's fine. But, Your Majesty, your subordinate was lacking in manners as well. To shout at a crown prince like me, in my world, he would be sentenced to death. Zhu Jingqing said faintly. This is a trap. Dong Huang Baiji calculated in her heart. The other party is the crown prince of deity realm, and he has a huge army under his control. If I were to be disrespectful towards him, I would be inviting a fatal disaster upon myself. At that time, the entire voidless realm would be implicated as well. When one is under the eaves of another, one has no choice but to lower one's head. I apologize to Your Majesty for my subordinate's disrespectful behavior. Dong Huang Baiji said helplessly. Yi Hua said faintly, add this Zhu Jingqing's descendant as well. Yes. Hearing what Dong Huang Baiji said, Zhu Jingqing suddenly became enlightened. Because, this is a good empress who loves her subordinate. With this, I will be able to endlessly threaten her. Your Majesty, you are being too courteous. We are all family, there is no need for you to apologize. Zhu Jingqing grinned and teased. Yi Hua said faintly, add his previous generation as well. Yes. Dong Huang Baiji naturally understood the meaning behind Yi Hua's words and said coldly, Your Majesty, please be a bit more respectful. Your Majesty, I have already respected you enough, don't fail to appreciate my kindness. Zhu Jingqing's eyes revealed out a trace of brilliance. Just what are you trying to do? Dong Huang Baiji, I have been unable to sleep at night recently, and I lack someone to warm my bed. I feel that you are qualified to do so. Zhu Jingqing's words caused Dong Huang Baiji to burn with anger. However, her rationality told her that she mustn't get angry, because if she were to get angry, the entire voidless realm would be buried together with her. Yi Hua said coldly, remember all 18 generations of this Zhu Jingqing's ancestors. Yes. Qin Yutong wanted to observe a moment of silence for this crown prince who is currently acting cool. Your entire family is already on brother-in-law's death list, they are going to be finished. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, Your Majesty sure knows how to joke. Your Majesty is smart and quick-witted, you naturally know whether I am joking or not. Since you are so hesitant, I will give you a bit of motivation. Zhu Jingqing waved his hand. One of the triplets could be seen suddenly disappearing. When the triplet reappeared, the triplet had already grabbed onto Xing Han's neck and raised him up high. Don't. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly stood up. Chapter 396. However, Qinya, who was hiding at the back, was a bit faster. Stretching out her slender finger, a green light shot out and forced the first brother to let go of Xing Han. And when Qinya walked out from the back, Zhu Jingqing's face was filled with greed. However, this greedy expression was seen by Yi Hua, and Yi Hua said gravely, Wei Chang. Write them down for me. Yes. Qin Yutong lightly sighed. Why is there a need to do this? Wouldn't it be better to just directly rush over and exterminate them? Long hair, short experience. If I were to rush over and get killed right now, what kind of effect would that have? Would Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji be moved? Of course not. At that time, there was a possibility that they might even talk about it. Yi Hua, why are you so impulsive? This is the Crown Prince. Right now, Yi Hua wasn't being impulsive anymore. Right now, I want to teach my wives a lesson. After I am done, I will go and teach this Crown Prince a lesson. I want to let this Crown Prince know that acting cool in front of me is the same as acting cool. Looking at Qinya, who was leisurely walking over, Zhu Jingqing revealed a stupefied look. This woman is beautiful. They were so beautiful that they couldn't even be found in the entire heaven's sanctum. These two women were simply the best of the best. If he could be brought into the palace, why would he need to be an emperor? He could even be a subject under the skirt of others. Suddenly, when Zhu Jingqing saw Qinya's slightly bulging lower abdomen, his face stiffened. Following which, his face started to turn sinister, and the veins on his forehead started to bulge. He couldn't even get his first time with such a woman. This was a huge insult and mockery to him. Which damned man is it? This prince will cut that man into 13 pieces. Whose child is this? Zhu Jingqing lost his patience. He stood up and asked, releasing a divine might that made others submit. Qinya looked at the man below and said indifferently, "What does it have to do with you?" "Of course it's related to me. This prince has taken a fancy to the two of you." Zhu Jingqing wildly laughed. He wished he could capture them right now and torture them. Qinya and Donghuang Baiji laughed lightly. The two women were thinking of the same thing. If Yi Hua was here and heard this man's arrogant words, how would he react? That kind of reaction would be explosive, and this crown prince would deeply regret his choice of words. Qinya smiled sweetly. This caused Zhu Jingqing to be stupefied. Donghuang Baiji gave off a cold and arrogant aura, while this woman gave off a gentle aura. Comfortable. If that's the case, I'm really sorry, we already have a man. Qinya said indifferently. Donghuang Baiji added, furthermore, it's the same person. Yi Hua felt that it was time for him to make an appearance, and he even had to make an appearance in a dazzling manner. Yi Hua shouted out, "That is me. You bunch of salted fishes actually dared to spy on my lovely wife." However, he still endured it. Acting cool was a moment of pleasure, but what about the latter part of the sentence? When Zhu Jingqing heard this answer, he instantly lost his composure. Who? In this world, apart from me, no one else can have beauties like you. Impossible. Donghuang Baiji stood up, and when the two women stood together, they immediately looked extremely beautiful. Even Wu Man was dazed. Donghuang Baiji was too beautiful. There was actually such a woman in such a lowly world. No wonder the Marquis wanted to keep it a secret. He probably wanted to enjoy it for himself. Of course there is. Furthermore, in his eyes, you are nothing. Donghuang Baiji said coldly. With Yi Hua supporting her, Donghuang Baiji was very confident. Although they were currently in a cold war, Donghuang Baiji knew that if something were to happen, Yi Hua would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Qinya added on indifferently, at most, he can be considered as a dried salted fish. Yi Hua, who was standing at the side, laughed lightly. These two women acting cool together is rather interesting. However, this is good as well. When facing a strong opponent, the two of you will think of me. Audacious. You actually dare to insult His Highness the Crown Prince, and even said that His Highness the Crown Prince is a salted fish. Wu Man took a step forward, pointed his finger at the two women and shouted out. The veins on Zhu Jingqing's forehead bulged out, and because he was angry, his face became red. Ask him to come out and let me have a look at him then. Donghuang Baiji suddenly laughed, then said, "Do you think that my husband is someone that you can meet whenever you want to?" The corner of Qinya's mouth revealed out a clever arc as she said proudly, "My husband is 8 feet tall, he has a very graceful bearing, he is solemn, frank and clear, he has the bearing of a dragon and a phoenix, his face is like the moon of mid-autumn, his complexion is like the flowers of the dawn of spring, his hair is like a knife, his eyebrows are like a painting, his eyes are like autumn waves, and although he is angry, he would sometimes smile, and his gaze is filled with both anger." and affection. Following Qinya's words, the entire place quietened down. Yihua, who was hiding at the side, rubbed onto his chin. I didn't expect that all of my good points would be pointed out by Qinya. Seems like Qinya's eyesight is rather good. Bonus points. Bonus points for all of my good points. Why didn't I say it earlier? Wei Cheng took out a small notebook and noted down everything that His Honor said. What your wife said made His Honor very happy. Qin Yutong seemed to have a very cold look on her face as she hugged her arms. Big sister's words are simply praising brother-in-law to the sky. Look at brother-in-law's proud look. Chapter 397. Qinya was able to fight against the triplets by herself and was still not defeated. This made Zhu Jingqing and Wu Man feel very surprised. I didn't expect that the Nuwa clan would be so powerful. While Dong Wang Baiji was only able to pin down Zhu Jingqing, this gave Wu Man a chance to show off his skills. Wu Man immediately rushed into Voidless Realm and started killing. Kill them all. Kill everyone here. Zhu Jingqing, who was fighting against Dong Wang Baiji, shouted out loudly. As you wish. After speaking, Wu Man slashed towards a child. At this moment, Qinya and Dong Wang Baiji turned pale with fright. Ali. It was indeed Dong Wang Li. When she heard the sounds of fighting, she came over to help. Daddy is probably stuck in a traffic jam. Seeing that Ali was about to get injured, Qin Yutong hurriedly shook Yihua's arm. Brother-in-law. Ali. Quickly go, quickly go. Don't mess around. Ali is stronger than you. Yihua pinched onto his sister-in-law's face. He was very assured towards his daughter. Not to mention, my daughter is the strongest mini-boss here. Dong Huangli raised her head and looked towards Wu Man. Her baby fat face was blown by the astral wind that Wu Man emitted. This bad uncle is truly shameless, to actually bully a child. Ali. Quickly dodge. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out loudly. If mommy wants Ali to dodge, then Ali will just dodge. Boom. Smoke filled the air, and small stones flew all over the place. Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji stopped what they were doing and looked at the scene in a daze. Zhu Jingqing has a sinister smile on his face. As for that Wu Man, it seems like he has done something very awesome. He appeared very savage. However, when the smoke dispersed, Wu Man saw a small figure appear. It's her. She actually stood on top of my sword. How is this possible? Zhu Jingqing was also stupefied. This can't be an old demon, right? Qinya and Dong Huang Baiji let out a breath of relief. That scene just now nearly scared their souls away. Qin Yutong patted onto her towering chest. Fortunately, she is fine. Wei Cheng revealed a light smile. Since His Honor is already so young, he will definitely become an overlord when he grows up. What is there to worry about with these women? Ali possesses my bloodline, and from the day she was born, she is already destined to be extraordinary. You, who are you? Wu Ma's eyes opened wide, and he looked as if he had just seen a ghost. His strength was indeed a little weak, but in this low-level world, he was still an invincible existence. Today, however, he was played by a child. Ali isn't going to tell you. Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth, looking very tsundere. The more Wu Man thought about it, the angrier he became. He had lost face in front of the crown prince, and it was all because of this child. I'll kill you. 5 consecutive 6 slashes. You lowly and despicable low-level races actually dare to insult me. I am going to use my fists to crush you all. I also want, Before Wu Man could finish his words, Dong Wang Li's small hand could be seen grabbing onto Wu Man's thumb, then swung her small arm. Wu Man, who was 3 meters tall and weighed at least a few hundred kilograms, was actually swung high into the air, then fiercely smashed onto the ground. This was not the end. Dong Wang Li swung left and right, and Wu Man was just like a doll that was being swung around by Dong Huangli's petite body. Bang, 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 bang. Everyone was stupefied as they looked at Dong Huangli foolishly. In the end, Dong Huangli ruthlessly smashed onto the ground, then snorted, "What a weak deity." Right now, Wu Man had already fainted from being smashed. It was fortunate that he didn't hear what Dong Huangli said, if not, he would definitely have fainted from anger. After jumping over Wu Man's body, Dong Huangli placed her hands on her waist and looked at Zhu Jingqing and the others. "You bad guys are already surrounded by Ali, be tactful and raise your hands to surrender, if not, Ali is going to get angry." Ali has watched too many police and bandit movies. After all, our entire family are bandits, not police. Qin Yutong's beautiful face became soft. "I really want to hug Ali. She is so cute. Little sovereign is very courageous." Wei Chang gave the highest evaluation of Ali. Zhu Jingqing was already suppressed by Ali, and right now, he was also a bit flustered. "Capture this child for me." "Yes, Your Highness Crown Prince." The triplets immediately pounced towards Dong Huangli like hungry wolves. As long as they are able to capture Dong Huangli, they would definitely tear her apart. However, who was Dong Huangli? She was the first child of a supreme overlord. Chapter 398. Ho, 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 can't catch me, can't catch me. Dong Huangli made a funny face, then jumped away from Dong Huangli. A lump of golden flame appeared on Dong Huangli's finger, and without even thinking, Dong Huangli threw out the lump of golden flame. A small ball of golden flames drew an arc in the air. It was very beautiful, but also very terrifying. Puff! When the flames landed at the feet of the triplets, they instantly burst into flames. It was as if gasoline had found sparks and wanted to burn everything. The triplets were instantly buried in the sea of fire. They didn't even have the chance to scream before they turned into golden liquid that flowed on the ground. However, the fire could not be controlled at all. It rushed towards His Highness. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Once this sunfall heavenly fire comes into contact with an object, it would burn everything. Don't look at how Dong Huangli had only thrown out a small amount of sunfall heavenly fire. It was more than enough to burn the entire voidless realm. Dong Huangli was stupefied. It was clearly just a small fire. How did it become so big? He even burned Mama's palace. Dong Huangli, who didn't know what to do, immediately burst into tears, because her mommy will definitely scold her. Facing such a huge fire, no one was able to do anything. Dong Huangbaiji couldn't be bothered with the crown prince anymore. She hurriedly carried her daughter into her embrace and left, then ordered everyone to leave. Zhu Jingqing took this opportunity to escape. "Just you wait. Wait for me to summon 1,000,000 soldiers. Now you know what pain is." Right now, everyone in Voidless Realm was looking at the tallest mountain, and the tallest mountain had already turned into a huge fireball. As the Empress Palace, it was the most luxurious and symbolic place. Today, it was actually burned down by the Empress' daughter. Everyone was heartbroken, but there was nothing they could do. Dong Huangli was already tired of crying, and while lying on her mother's bosom, she fell asleep. Dong Huangbaiji wanted to scold her, but she didn't know how to do it. Her daughter had resolved the crisis, but she had accidentally burned down the entire palace. It's all Yi Hua's fault. Seems like right now, Yi Hua has to take the blame for everything. This is truly too miserable. In actuality, Yi Hua was powerless to do anything. The might of the deviant flames was unimaginable, especially the sunfall heavenly flame, which couldn't be extinguished no matter what. Qinya let out a deep sigh. "I have already told you. You can't teach a child to be too formidable. Yi Hua just won't listen. How long is this fire going to burn?" Dong Huangbaiji mumbled. Suddenly, a very obvious small fireball fell from the fireball and landed on a mountain below. Qinya and Dong Huangbaiji's faces stiffened. Sure enough, the mountain peak was instantly set ablaze, and Dong Huangbaiji immediately dispersed the crowd. In the end, Voidless Realm had no choice but to gather the people from Voidless Realm and push the two mountains far away. Only then was Voidless Realm able to escape from this calamity. The main culprit, Dong Huangli, was currently pretending to be asleep, fearing that she would be scolded by her mother. Voidless Realm, which was missing two mountains, looked very awkward, especially with the disappearance of the King Peak, which was the topmost mountain. Voidless Realm looked just like a bald lady. Yihua expressed that there was nothing he could do about it. Although my main body is heaven-defying, there are still some things that cannot be changed. Fortunately, Voidless Realm was not a single entity. If Voidless Realm was a single entity, Voidless Realm would have definitely been burned to the ground. This was also the reason why Yihua often said that it was actually very easy to burn down the entire world. Now, even little Ali could do it. Alright, I just want to see Voidless Realm get burned down. If that's the case, we will have no place to return to, and we can only return to Voidless Realm. However, after this incident, I reckon that Dong Huangli wouldn't use Sunfall Heavenly Fire anymore. It was a pity that Wu Man, the military advisor, was knocked unconscious after only appearing for a few times. When Zhu Jingqing left, he didn't even care about Wu Man and ended up being burned to death. As for the triplets, they all died mysteriously. I reckon that they didn't even have the feeling of death. Seeing that the three of them were fine, Yihua, who was standing in the air, felt relieved. He didn't have any intention of meeting with them, and thus, he left with Wei Chang and his sister-in-law. Because there are more important things that I have to do, it doesn't seem appropriate for this crown prince to leave just like that, right? Seems like I have to bring my subordinates out for a walk and not force them too much, especially Yi Zizi, who has a bitter expression on her face all day long. Returning back to Leisure Bar, Yihua sent his sister-in-law away and prepared to have a good talk with Yi Zizi. Yihua pushed open the door of the bar, and Yi Zizi's petite back could be seen sitting in front of the desk. Her two ponytails were swaying back and forth behind her head, and it was clear that she was trying to seduce people. "What are you doing?" Yihua walked over and asked faintly. Yi Zizi said, "Teacher's assignment." Yihua took a look at Yi Zizi and saw that she was copying a text, just that, the handwriting is not something that an ordinary person would be able to recognize. Pulling out a small stool, Yihua sat at the side and asked lightly, "What's wrong? Are you unhappy?" Yi Zizi pursed her lips and said with grievance, "Zizi doesn't dare to be unhappy." "Then, I will register you for a cram school." Yi Zizi could be seen directly pouncing into Yihua's embrace and acting cute. Ugh, your honor, I feel like vomiting. It's so stifling." Yihua patted onto Yi Zizi's forehead. "The reason why I came over this time is to help you reduce the pressure." Yi Zizi's beautiful eyes lit up, and she immediately sat properly like a good student and vowed solemnly, "Your honor. As long as you help me reduce the pressure, I promise that I will study properly and improve every day." Rubbing onto Yi Zizi's head, Yihua said eerily, "You will enjoy this time of reducing the pressure." The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth arced upwards, her pair of big scarlet eyes were flickering with bloodlust, and her bright red tongue was licking the corner of her mouth, seemingly unable to wait any longer. Zhu Jingqing, who was forced to return to Heaven's Mansion, was currently in a violent rage. "Today, I lost 4 of my generals. The most important thing is that Wu Man died." Wu Ma family had been guarding the borders of Heaven's Mansion for generations, defending against the ferocious beasts of Heaven's Mansion in exchange for 1,000 years of peace. And this Wu Man was the youngest son that the general doted on. If I were to tell him about this unfortunate news, Father Emperor would definitely blame me. Furthermore, in order to appease Wu Ma family, the punishment will be very heavy. This is not a situation that Zhu Jingqing wanted to see. Bang, bang, bang. Countless spirit porcelains were smashed into pieces by Zhu Jingqing. This kind of low-level world actually has such a child. That's right. This child called Donghuang Baiji Mother. Could it be that this child awakened East Emperor's bloodline? If so, everything will make sense. This East Emperor's bloodline is indeed terrifying. No wonder Ho Shualin wanted to take it for himself. That's right. Since no one knows about Wu Ma An's death, I might as well push the blame onto the person who destroyed Ho Wang Mansion. Your Highness the Crown Prince. A dignified-looking woman could be seen walking over and shouting out with a sweet voice. When Zhu Jingqing, who was in a violent rage, saw this concubine, he immediately thought of those two women and grabbed onto the concubine's wrist. "Your Highness the Crown Prince, it hurts," Zhu Jingqing shouted out towards the maids. "All of you, scram out." After all of the maids left the room, Zhu Jingqing directly pressed the concubine onto the table and vented out the resentment in his heart. Zhu Jingqing even swore that sooner or later, he will definitely kill those two women. After venting out his resentment, Zhu Jingqing felt much better and rewarded the concubine. Chapter 399. Zhu Jingqing was puzzled. Now that Wu Man was gone, he had lost a powerful foil. "All right, allow me to undress." After changing into a new robe, Zhu Jingqing walked into the hall uneasily and saw the person he didn't want to see the most. Wu Ma Chao. Che Hongliang and Celestial Master Ing Wei were there as well. They seemed to be discussing something. Wu Ma Chao wasn't as handsome as his youngest son, Wu Man. His fierce face showed the traces of time. Even when meeting the emperor, he wore armor. If Wu Ma Chao knew that his youngest son had been killed by the crown prince, he would probably kill the crown prince. Why did General Wu Ma suddenly rush back? Zhu Qingxian, who was sitting on the throne, asked curiously. Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, I received a secret report from the Celestial Master and immediately rushed back." Wu Ma Chao's voice was loud and clear. Zhu Qingxian was unhappy. The Celestial Master was making a big deal out of nothing. "Celestial Master, General Wu Ma is guarding the border. How can we let him come back so suddenly?" The Celestial Master was terrified. "Your Majesty, this is a special time. With General Wu Ma here, the royal hunt will be safer." Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands and shouted, "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I will do my best to protect Your Majesty. Then I will have to trouble General Wu Ma." Zhu Qingxian was helpless. A trace of annoyance flashed between his brows. "Crown Prince, the royal hunt is in 3 days. Finish this quickly," Zhu Qingxian said to his son. This was also a chance for his son to perform for the royal family. Zhu Jingqing cupped his hands and said, "Your son understands." Zhu Qingxian nodded and scanned the crowd. "I don't want to hear anyone else talk about this bloody light. Anyone who disobeys will be executed." The four knelt together. "Your Majesty is wise. You may all leave." The four bowed and left the hall. Zhu Jingqing quickened his pace. He didn't want to talk to Wu Ma Chao in case the latter saw through him. However, this action made Wu Ma Chao feel like something was wrong. In the past, this crown prince was trying to curry favor with him, but now he was leaving so quickly. "Your Highness," Wu Ma Chao called with a smile. Zhu Jingqing stopped in his tracks and cursed under his breath. However, he still turned around and smiled. "General Wu Ma. Why is my son not accompanying the crown prince?" Wu Ma Chao asked curiously. "Oh, I didn't see it today either." Zhu Jingqing smiled. "You won't be able to find this corpse in your entire life." Wu Ma Chao smiled. "That's strange. He's not at home either. Maybe I'll go to a girl's house and stay the night." Zhu Jingqing's words made Wu Ma Chao believe him. Being romantic was their motto. This general will not disturb the crown prince any further. I hope the crown prince will guide my son. Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands in greeting. Zhu Jingqing laughed heartily. "Well said, well said." Seeing Wu Ma Chao leave, Zhu Jingqing heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, today was a secret mission, and no one knew. "Your Highness the Crown Prince." Che Hongliang suddenly walked out from the side, a pair of small eyes revealing shrewdness. Zhu Jingqing was startled, but he squeezed out a smile. "Sir Che." Che Hongliang chuckled. "Today, Your Highness the Crown Prince brought the general's son and a few subordinates out. I'm sure your luck with women is not shallow." Zhu Jingqing really wanted to chop this bastard in front of him into pieces. He actually sent people to spy on me. Furthermore, he also found out about today's matter. What should I do? Seeing that the crown prince did not speak, Che Hongliang said indifferently, just now, Your Highness the Crown Prince and the General said that you don't know Wu Ma An's whereabouts. This is a bit. Sir Che must have remembered wrongly. Zhu Jingqin gradually stopped smiling. At this moment, he could not even smile anymore. Then, if the General knows that the Crown Prince lied, I'm afraid that the matter will be reported to His Majesty. Che Hongliang. Just what are you trying to do? Zhu Jingqin lowered his voice and shouted. Relying on the support of the Empress, the Crown Prince actually dared to speak rudely to me. Che Hongliang did not expect the Crown Prince to have such a big reaction. At the start, I was only probing, but from the looks of it now, something must have happened. Otherwise, the Crown Prince would not be this nervous. Could it be that Wu Ma An has already? Your Highness the Crown Prince is very busy. I'm just afraid that Your Highness the Crown Prince is too busy. Don't you just want a plane? I'll give you one and seal your mouth. So it's this matter. Sir Che, you can be at ease. After the imperial hunt is over, I will report this matter to my father. This was precisely what Che Hongliang wanted to hear. Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Take care, Sir Che. Looking at Che Hongliang leaving, Zhu Jingqin wished that he could take out his sword and stab Che Hongliang in the back. To actually dare to trick even me. Just now, it would have been great if I had brought the unconscious Wu Ma An along with me. If not, why would I be threatened by Che Hongliang now? Right now, the most important matter is to properly handle the imperial hunt. After the imperial hunt is over, I will think of a way to get the Donghuang bloodline, Muhua bloodline, and those two women. This matter cannot be spoken out even if I am beaten to death. After all, this matter is more important than the throne. 3 days passed by very quickly. Because it was the imperial hunt, the people in the city were celebrating as if it was a festival. To them, the imperial hunt was a big day. The more the imperial hunt was, the more glorious the imperial family was, and the more peaceful the Heaven's mansion was. Of course, the hunt was also a chance for the princes to perform. Although the Crown Prince had already been decided, it was still possible to remove him from his position. The princes all wanted to drag the Crown Prince down from his pedestal. There were more than 2,000 members of the imperial family in total. Including the generals and guards, there were more than 10,000 people. Zhu Jingqin was the person in charge of this hunt, and he was in charge of everything. Just as Zhu Jingqin was busy, Wu Ma Chao walked over in his armor. He was in charge of safety this time. Your Highness, have you seen my son these past few days? Wu Ma Chao asked in a low voice. His eyes were filled with displeasure. Zhu Jingqin felt Wu Ma Chao's questioning and immediately greeted him with a smile. General Wu Ma, the Crown Prince has been busy making arrangements for the hunt these past few days. He has been so busy that he has not seen young master, and that is strange. Once this hunt is over, I hope that Your Highness will give me an answer. This was Wu Ma Chao's final message. His son's sudden disappearance was definitely not normal. It must have something to do with the Crown Prince. Zhu Jingqin hurriedly comforted him. Do not worry, General Wu Ma. Once the hunt is over, this Crown Prince will immediately go find young Masterin. Perhaps he is infatuated with someone's daughter. Then I hope that Your Highness will remember your words. Wu Ma Chao was not so easy to trick. He, the father, had returned, but his son had to come and see him. Which family's daughter could be kept? Seeing Wu Ma Chao leave, Zhu Jingqin let out a sigh of relief. His heart was heavy. Chapter 400. Drums thundered through the air, carrying with them a sense of majesty and solemnity. It also symbolized that the royal family was out on patrol, and everyone had to kneel to welcome them. As the procession walked out of the palace, everyone on the road to the city gates knelt down to welcome them. This was the royal family of Heaven's sanctum. Everyone had to submit to them. After walking out of the southern city gates, the procession gradually rose into the sky and rushed towards the hunting grounds. The majestic procession walked in the sky. When they passed by the city, the people below looked up at the royal family and then knelt down to offer their sincere blessings. The hunting was a traditional festival of the royal family. For safety and the dignity of the royal family, some spirit beasts were specially reared for the royal family to hunt, or if someone injured the spirit beasts first, then the princes would hunt them. In short, the royal hunt was a deep set of traps. Changlin was the royal hunting grounds. Zhu Jingqing had built a temporary courtyard, and opposite the courtyard was a forest. When the people of the royal family arrived, the forest was filled with the melodious chirping of birds. Thousands of birds flew into the sky. Your Majesty is blessed. Even these birds are cheering for your Majesty's arrival. Che Hongliang couldn't help but flatter. Che Mainyang was the current empress and Che Hongliang's older sister. In such an occasion, she would definitely stand by the emperor's side. Receiving the protection of your Majesty, even these birds are singing your praises. It's a good sign. Che Mainyang laughed softly. Behind her was a group of beautiful concubines, all of whom only wanted to receive the emperor's favor. And among these concubines, there were many virgins that even the emperor had forgotten to touch. Hearing these compliments, Zhu Qingxian revealed a faint smile. With this emperor here, the country will naturally prosper and the people will be at peace. Following Zhu Qingxuan's words, everyone knelt down and shouted, God bless your Majesty, God bless heaven's sanctum. Zhu Qingxian smiled and waved his hand. The people began to set up camp, while the people of the royal family and the others entered the courtyard to rest. Walking into the courtyard, Zhu Qingxian smiled. Crown Prince, you did well. Thank you for the praise, Father. In the past, they had to set up tents for the hunt, but this time, Zhu Jingqing had built a temporary courtyard in 3 days. Hearing the emperor praise the Crown Prince, Che Mainyang and Che Hongliang were very unhappy. Your Majesty, if you let Yun, do it, I believe she will do it well, Che Mainyang said in a low voice. Zhu Yun bowed and stood to the side. In a low voice, he said, Your Highness the Crown Prince's intelligence surpasses others. Your son is inferior. Zhu Qingxian didn't say anything, but Che Mainyang glared at her son. Zhu Yun actually didn't like it. Father Emperor valued Zhu Jingqing very much now. Now that Zhu Yun was comparing himself to him, wouldn't that make Father Emperor feel disgusted? This Zhu Yun was a smart person and had some ability. Che Hongliang also valued him a lot, but his sister was too impatient, causing Zhu Yun's image to be bad in front of His Majesty. Royal brother, you must be joking. If you were to handle this matter, you would definitely surpass me. Crown Prince, you are too kind. The two of them complimented each other and were equally matched. As for the princes who were following behind, they watched the development of the situation. Right now, the Crown Prince obviously had the upper hand, but Zhu Yun had the support of the Empress and Che Hongliang. His strength could not be underestimated. In addition, Marquis Wang Ye's entire family was suddenly wiped out. The situation suddenly became complicated and confusing. As the Emperor, Zhu Qingxian came here to relax and watch the performance of the princes. Of course, he also had to pamper the imperial concubines. After all, this was also a chance for them. Although they couldn't enjoy the rain and dew, at least they could break as many as they could. At least they wouldn't die with their bodies intact. The hunt officially begins. Princes, go and prepare. Following Emperor Zhu Qingxuan's order, hundreds of princes began to prepare to enter the field. As for the wives of these princes, they also began to worry. Although the spirit beasts in Changlin were of low level, accidents might happen. One had to know. Every time there was a hunt, someone would die. Perhaps these women didn't know that they weren't killed by the spirit beasts, but by their half-brothers. The royal family was just that cruel. As the emperor, he saw all of this but didn't stop it. If the world wasn't won through fighting, would it still be called the world? Princes died one after another, and young princes were born continuously. The gods who had a long life didn't worry about the future generations. Zhu Jingqing was the crown prince and the leader of the entire faction. Although he had lost a powerful helper like Wu Man, these younger brothers still had a lot of power. It seemed like he had to think about it carefully. Crown Prince, why don't we have a competition? Zhu Yun, who was riding on by Rong, said to Zhu Jingqing with a smile. Dozens of princes followed behind him. Zhu Jingqing also had many princes. Royal brother, you said the same thing last year, right? Zhu Jingqing said indifferently. He didn't even look at Zhu Yun, and his words were full of sarcasm. Crown Prince, you are right. However, I have practiced for a year, and I hope to catch up to you. Zhu Jingqing chuckled and said, Royal brother, even if you practice for another 100 years, you still won't be able to catch up to me. Jia. After saying this, Zhu Jingqing led the princes of one faction into Changlin. Dust instantly flew up. Zhu Yun's eyes gleamed coldly as he shouted, Jia. After the princes of the two factions left, there were dozens of princes left. They didn't want to fight and wanted to be free. Therefore, they entered Changlin unhurriedly and hunted some small animals in the periphery before going back to report. After Zhu Jingqing rushed into Changlin, he didn't go inside. Instead, he circled around the periphery before he stopped. Crown Prince. I'm afraid that Zhu Yun is going to kill you. This person was called Zhu Di. Apart from Wu Man, he was the only person that Zhu Jingqing trusted. Zhu Jingqing sneered, after so many years of killing, has he ever succeeded? Your Highness, you should be careful. Zhu Di warned. It was better to be safe than sorry. Underestimating the enemy was a taboo in the military. However, Zhu Jingqing seemed to have forgotten the lesson from 3 days ago. Brothers, let's warm up in the outer perimeter first. Then, follow me in to kill the strongest spirit beasts. Let the Emperor Father witness our teamwork. Zhu Jingqing exuded the might of the Crown Prince and shouted at the people behind him to boost their morale. Yes. Your Highness. On the other side, Zhu Yun led his people to circle around the periphery before he stopped. This time, they must kill the Crown Prince. Of course, they couldn't kill him openly. They had to pretend that they were killed by the spiritual beasts. Royal brother, we must win this time. A handsome man rode out on a spiritual horse. His name was Zhu Zhu, and he was Zhu Yun's right-hand man. Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, it's either we succeed or we die. It's time to change the Crown Prince. Royal brother, you're right. Zhu Jingqing is a playboy. I don't know what father sees in him. Even if he sees something, he will unfortunately die under the spiritual beast's cudgels today. Zhu Yun revealed a murderous look as if he had killed his father. After saying that, Zhu Yun led his people into the depths of Changlin. It seemed like he wanted to set up an ambush first. There were only some ordinary spirit beasts in the periphery. They were like rabbits or deer, and they weren't aggressive at all. However, as they went deeper, the spiritual beasts became more lethal. However, the strongest spiritual beasts here were only high-level spiritual beasts. Just like ordinary people and tigers and lions, there wouldn't be any dinosaur-level spiritual beasts. Therefore, the spiritual beasts weren't much of a threat to the princes. After all, the weapons in their hands were ancient godly items. As for ancient godly items, they were very rare. Chapter 401. As Zhu Yun ventured deeper into the forest, the air was filled with a sense of fear. This caused everyone to feel strange. Brother, why do I feel that something is wrong? Zhu Zhu frowned and looked around. Why didn't he feel this way in the past? It was as if a strange aura was pressing down on his back, making it hard for him to breathe. Zhu Yun also noticed that something was amiss and stopped his horse. His instincts told him that he couldn't go any deeper. Could there be a high-level ancient beast? Zhu Yun muttered. That's possible. Dong! 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 Suddenly, a series of stomping sounds rang out, causing the ground to tremble. The prince's horses were startled, but they quickly calmed down. After all, their mounts were not ordinary war horses. The tremors on the ground were getting stronger and stronger, indicating that they were getting closer. Zhu Yun felt his entire body trembling. Roar! An angry roar broke the tranquility of the forest. Under the roar, the spiritual energy fluctuations spread out in all directions. Everyone immediately put up their defenses. Zhu Zhu was in disbelief and shouted, "This is a high-level ancient beast, Black Green Eye." The princes were shocked. They didn't even see any high-level spirit beasts, but a high-level ancient beast had suddenly appeared. This was the royal hunting ground. How could there be such an ancient beast? Retreat! Retreat! Zhu Yun hurriedly ordered and turned to run. Black Green Eye was not an ordinary high-level ancient beast, because its size was not ordinary. Boom! Just as the princes were about to turn and run, a gigantic ancient beast charged at them. It had a pair of green eyes, 4 limbs, and silvery white fur all over its body. It was several hundred meters tall, and every time it ran, the ground would tremble. However, upon closer inspection, the green eyes and black eyes looked a bit like a gorilla. Even the way it ran was a bit similar. However, its face was filled with fear. Its green eyes seemed to have seen something even more terrifying. It ran outside without a care for its life. The warhorses of the princes were relatively fast, but compared to a high-level ancient beast, they were still lacking. Scatter and run! Zhu Yun shouted. Black Green Eye looked at the princes that were like ants, and it wanted to stomp them to death. Ah! Ah! A few princes instantly died under Black Green Eye's huge foot, and they were actually stomped into meat paste. Stop! Zhu Yun suddenly shouted. Everyone stopped what they were doing and dodged the attack very well. After that, Black Eye ran away just like that. What was going on? Wasn't it chasing after him? Why did he run away? Imperial brother, Black Eye seems to be being chased by something. Zhu Zhu gasped for breath. The situation just now was truly terrifying. If the black-eyed beast turned around and attacked, the consequences would be unthinkable. In actuality, this black-eyed beast was much more powerful than Infamily's and Voidless Realm's divine beasts, and they weren't on the same level at all. However, in Voidless Realm, this black-eyed beast was merely a high-rank ancient beast. On the other hand, Infamily and Voidless Realm's godly beasts could only be considered as high-level spiritual beasts at most. Just as Zhu Yun was about to say something, the ground suddenly began to squirm. Everyone looked at their feet. There was something moving quickly below them. Everyone had a bad feeling as they looked at Black-Eyed, who was running for his life in the distance. Boom! The princes stared at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. A gigantic corpse Kun drilled out from the ground and opened its bloody mouth. Its green eyes were filled with panic. In terms of size, the two weren't on the same level at all. The corpse Kun was several thousand meters long, and when it opened its bloody mouth, it was large enough to swallow the black-eyed beast whole. Fear appeared on Black-Eye's face. Although it had jumped high into the air, it wasn't flying, and it was still going to fall. Lowering its head and looking at the huge mouth that was filled with a fishy smell, Black-Eyed fell into despair. The corpse Kun could be seen fiercely closing its mouth and letting out a loud sound. The lower half of Black-Eye's body was gone, and only its chest and head were left. The two enormous beasts landed from the sky, raising a cloud of dust. All the princes were dumbstruck. However, the matter wasn't over yet. Right now, Black-Eyed wasn't completely dead yet. Its strong desire to live was telling it that it still had a chance to live. The corpse Kun was like a python as it revolved around Black-Eyed, seemingly playing with this weak life. Imperial brother, why would this ferocious beast appear in Changlin? Zhu Zhu's tone was filled with boundless fear. It is impossible for such a ferocious beast to appear in Changlin. Zhu Yun's chest moved up and down, seeming to be very excited. However, within this excitement, there was also deep fear, blood glow. Blood glow. Blood glow. All the princes thought back to what happened a few days ago. Although the news of what happened was sealed off, all of them still knew about it. Now that the corpse Kun suddenly appeared in Changlin, does this mean that the blood glow has been verified? The corpse Kun seemed to have finished playing with the corpse Kun and swallowed the remaining black-eyed. Right now, all the princes didn't dare to make any movements, fearing that this damnable corpse Kun would attack them. If that happened, they would be dead for sure. On the other side, Zhu Jingqing and his men had hunted quite a lot of low-grade spiritual beasts, and their results were pretty good. Crown Prince, do you think that this Zhu Yun will ambush us like how he did in the past? Zhu Di asked with a smile on his face while stepping on the three-horned deer's corpse. Zhu Jingqing sneered, other than ambush, could it be that he still has other tricks up his sleeves? Perhaps, he might even call an accomplice? Zhu Di said jokingly. Accomplice? This is a battle between princes. If he really calls an accomplice and this matter is reported to father, the one who will be out of luck will still be him. Although the emperor allowed the princes to fight during the hunt, it was ultimately a battle within the family, and if outsiders were to get involved, it would be a huge crime. Your Highness is right, but we must also be careful. Zhu Di warned. This was the same as Wu Ma, and they were both doing it for the sake of the crown prince. However, when these words fell into Zhu Jingqing's ears, it was different, as if he was looking down on him. What is there to be afraid of, a small Zhu Yun? It's almost time to go in, this crown prince will take this Zhu Yun's head today. Zhu Jingqing was incomparably arrogant, he was truly someone who was not afraid of being beaten. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the depths of the forest, everyone couldn't help but stop in their tracks, and their positions started to shake slightly. Your Highness, this is an ancient beast. Zhu Di guessed, because it was too far away, he could only make a guess. Zhu Jingqing waited for a long time, and nothing happened, as if the roar was just an illusion. He chuckled, let's go. At this time, Zhu Yun was sweating profusely, the corpse Kun was actually not moving. Furthermore, the corpse Kun was fixedly staring at Zhu Yun's side, as if it was issuing a warning. Looking at the festering flesh and the stench coming from the corpse Kun, the princes' faces flushed red, and they felt like vomiting, but they didn't dare to vomit. Suddenly, a cheerful melody rang out from the depths of the forest. Happy goat, beautiful goat, lazy goat, boiling goat. At this kind of gloomy moment, there was actually someone singing, and everyone couldn't help but look over. Chapter 402. Don't look at me as a sheep, I am actually a wolf. The princes looked at the little girl stupidly. They weren't shocked by the little girl, but because the little girl was riding on the sheep and swaggered past the corpse Kun. How is this possible? This is a ferocious corpse Kun, a powerful and ferocious beast that kills people like killing chickens. You, such a cute little girl, actually walked past him and sat on the back of a weak spirit goat. Isn't this the same as delivering delicious food? Yi Zizi stretched out her little hand and yawned. I love his honor so much, he actually let me relieve pressure like this. Sob, sob, sob. I'm so happy these lowly humans revealed that terrified expression again. It was so comfortable to watch. When Yi Zizi stopped in front of the corpse Kun, everyone took in a mouthful of cold air. If they still don't know what is going on, then they aren't fit to be princes. This little girl is the mastermind behind the scenes, and this corpse Kun is listening to her. My God, how is this possible? Why would a powerful corpse Kun listen to a little girl? Yi Zizi jumped down from the sheep's back, then looked at the well-dressed princes in front of her and said, Little brothers, how do you want to die? Zhu Yun looked at the cute little loli and the huge corpse Kun in front of him, and his mind actually went blank. Zhu Zhu, who was at the side, was also stupefied. This is simply unbelievable. However, one of the princes came back to his senses rather quickly. He could no longer hold back the fear in his heart, and he immediately rode on the spiritual horse and fled. Yi Zizi let out a light sigh, as if she was feeling very regretful. Then, a strand of hair that was like a sharp blade pierced through the prince's head, and the prince hung high up in the air. It has been a long time since I tasted blood essence. Yi Zizi greedily sucked in the blood essence, and a blurry expression appeared on her face. However, the other princes were no longer calm. Looking at their brother who was hung up in the air, their limbs twitched, their eyes rolled up, their skin became whiter and whiter, and in the blink of an eye, they became just skin and bones. Slurpy Zizi couldn't help but let out a sound. "Don't let them get away," Yi Zizi said faintly. The corpse Kun behind her seemed to have woken up, and it emitted a terrifying aura. Boom! Boom! In the other two directions, two more corpse Kun drilled out from the ground, and those huge heads stared at the princes. Surrounded by three corpse Kuns, the princes were scared witless. They were smart enough to know that they were done for today. "I have no enmity with you, why do you want to kill us?" Zhu Yun couldn't help but ask. Even if he was going to die, he had to understand. Yi Zizi slowly walked over and said with a sweet smile, "Who said that one must have a grudge to kill?" "You." "Little big brother, you don't have to be too sad, it's hard for everyone to avoid death. Believe me, your death is heavier than a goose feather, wrong, heavier than Mount Tai, lighter than Mount Tai." Yi Zizi rubbed her head with both of her hands. "I wrote it down from memory last night, how could I have forgotten about it?" Zhu Zhu summoned his courage and roared, "We're princes of heaven's sanctum. You won't have it easy either. I know that you are princes, and there is also a crown prince," Yi Zizi said with a mischievous smile. She seemed like a sinister little loli. Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, "You're talking about Zhu Jingqing? Are you here for Zhu Jingqing?" "You can say that I am, this idiot provoked someone that he shouldn't have provoked. Zhu Jingqing is not here, he is in another direction, you can just go and find him." Zhu Yun hurriedly reported the location. Yi Zizi laughed, "I know, I will go after I kill you all. It seems like it's useless to say so much." Zhu Yun was confused and questioned, "Why do you want to kill us?" "Because of Zhu Jingqing." Yi Zizi had a look of, "You are an idiot, is there even a need to ask," on her face. "Then why don't you go and find Zhu Jingqing?" "Because you all aren't dead yet." Yi Zizi stood on her feet and stroked the spirit goat beside her, and that spirit goat closed its eyes comfortably. Zhu Yun remained silent for a while, then asked one last question, "I want to know, will Zhu Jingqing die too?" "He won't die." PFFF. Zhu Yun spat out a mouthful of blood from anger. It was obviously Zhu Jingqing who caused all of this, why did he not die in the end, and yet I have to die for him? In this life, I am just a foil, even if I die, I will still be like this. Zhu Yun is not willing to accept this. "Wow, you are so angry to the point of vomiting blood, just how big of a grudge do you all have against each other?" Yi Zizi cried out in surprise. It was very rare for someone to vomit blood from anger. Zhu Yun seemed to have collapsed in an instant, then said, "A very big grudge. It's a pity that I have a mission to complete, I am unable to help you take revenge." Yi Zizi pouted her mouth. His honor's order was to leave Zhu Jingqing alive, and the other princes will do as they see fit. The meaning of "do as they see fit" was very clear, that is, death, there was no other possibility. However, when these words fell into the ears of the princes, it was as if a bolt from the blue had struck them, causing their ears to ring. This little girl actually has a mission to complete, then who is the person who gave her the mission? Everyone's scalp went numb, and they couldn't help but think of the bloody glow. The legend is real. When the bloody glow appears, the country will face disaster. However, I can let you all die together, at least you all will be able to see each other's miserable state. What do you think? Yi Zizi suggested. Zhu Yun agreed to Yi Zizi's suggestion without even thinking. If I am really going to die, I want to see them suffer the same fate as me. On the other side, Zhu Jingqing had already charged into the depths of Chonglin, just that, along the way, they did not encounter any spiritual beasts. Zhu Di said gravely, "Your Highness the Crown Prince, I have a bad feeling about this." "Zhu Di, why are you acting the same as Wu Ma?" Zhu Jingqing said gravely. "This Zhu Jingqing doesn't learn his lesson at all. Back then, when he was at Ji family, Wu Ma had a bad premonition. If he had gone back to Ji family back then, everything would have been fine. Right now, Zhu Di also had a bad premonition. This Zhu Jingqing is still the same, he doesn't listen to advice. However, this time, even if he listens to advice, he won't be able to run away. Zhu Di didn't dare to say anything, fearing that he would anger the crown prince. After circling around the depths of Changlin, Zhu Jingqing didn't see any spiritual beasts, and this caused Zhu Jingqing to be puzzled. Your Highness the Crown Prince, Zhu Yun and the others have been discovered ahead of us. A prince rushed over and reported. Zhu Jingqing snorted coldly. From the looks of it, those spiritual beasts were scared away by my prestige. If that's the case, we can only kill them. Jia. With Zhu Jingqing at the lead, the group of princes rushed toward Zhu Yun. When Zhu Jingqing saw Zhu Yun and the others standing together, Zhu Jingqing pulled the horse under him and said with a smile, Imperial brother, this year, we are not going for a sneak attack, but an open attack. Zhu Jingqing. Just what did you do? Zhu Yun shouted coldly. This fellow must have done something outrageous, otherwise, how could he have offended such a ferocious person? Impudent, you actually dare to speak of the crown prince's name. Zhu Di shouted angrily. Chapter 403. It was normal for princes to dislike each other, but it was rare for them to curse like this. Even if they wanted to curse, they would curse behind someone's back. However, it was rare to curse in front of someone's face, not to mention that the person being cursed was the crown prince. Zhu Zhu's curse made the princes on Zhu Jingqing's side very surprised, but Zhu Yun's side was much more normal. Zhu Zhu, do you know the crime of cursing this crown prince? If you have the guts, try cursing again. Zhu Jingqing's face didn't look good, after all, it was in front of so many people. Crime. Isn't it just losing your head? This daddy is cursing you, Zhu Jingqing, you bastard. Damn Zhu Jingqing, even if this daddy becomes a ghost, I will kill you. Zhu Jingqing, you bastard, this daddy will kill your whole family. All kinds of curses started to attack Zhu Jingqing, which made him feel that something was wrong, but he didn't care. Instead, he suspected that this was a trap. Zhu Yun, I didn't expect that this year, there will be no sneak attacks or open attacks, but a war of words. Zhu Jingqing couldn't help but mock them. He planned to kill a few to show his strength, then beat up the rest to let them know that this crown prince wasn't someone to be trifled with. Zhu Yun coldly laughed. Zhu Jingqing, what kind of stupid thing did you do? Don't you have any idea? Do you know how many people you will kill? Zhu Jingqing's heart sank. He couldn't help but think about what happened a few days ago. Could it be that other than Che Hongliang, Zhu Yun also knew? It must be Che Hongliang who told him. Damn, they are all despicable people. It seems like this person can't be left alive today. Hearing Zhu Yun's words, coupled with the attitude of the princes, Zhu Di was puzzled, feeling that something was wrong. The princes behind were also discussing in low voices. After all, the princes weren't fools. Could it be that something really happened? What did this crown prince do that angered even the gods? Crown prince, what do you think? Zhu Di asked, seemingly wanting to hear the crown prince's explanation. This made Zhu Jingqing very unhappy. Zhu Di. What kind of attitude is this? Are you questioning this crown prince? I don't dare. Judith hurriedly said. However, she was a little unhappy in her heart. Yelling at her in front of so many princes was not giving her any face at all. Zhu Yun suddenly laughed, then became more and more crazy, making everyone think that Zhu Yun was stupid. Ha ha ha. You're all going to die, ha ha ha. We are all going to die, ha 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 ha. Following this crazy laughter, Zhu Yun's faction couldn't help but laugh, but there were also people who cried. Zhu Jingqing's people were all very surprised. It was fine if one of them was crazy, but all of them had gone crazy. Could it be that they had been bewitched? Moreover, for them to say such words, it was very puzzling. Zhu Jingqing looked on coldly, and a wave of anger rose in his heart. This laughter seemed to be mocking him. Beat him up. If he dies, it's on me. Zhu Jingqing, who had flown into a rage out of humiliation, seemed to have gone mad as well. The princes behind him were also very obedient. They immediately rode their horses over and started a one-sided beating. At the end of the day, they didn't really dare to kill him. In the past, there were times when they failed, but those were normal fights between the two sides. But this time, Zhu Yun and the others from the prince's faction didn't fight back at all. They were still laughing and crying when they were beaten. This made the princes who were fighting stop. Something was not right. You guys are really noisy. The sudden voice caused all the princes to be stunned for a moment. They immediately looked over, their eyes were filled with doubt and greed. Of course, Zhu Yun's side was filled with the fear of impending death. Although Zhu Jingqing didn't like this kind of thing, when he saw such a cute little girl, he couldn't help but have some thoughts. Yi Zizi sat on the spirit goat's back, sizing up the group of princes. Sucking them should be very enjoyable. Little sister, where did you come from? Are you lost? Zhu Jingqing jumped down from his horse, revealing a warm smile. Yi Zizi also revealed a sweet smile. Little brother, are you Zhu Jingqing? Zhu Jingqing paused, then immediately smiled. That's right, I am Zhu Jingqing, the current crown prince. That's good. Yi Zizi's sweet smile instantly turned dark, causing everyone to feel that something was wrong. Bang! 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 3 loud sounds shook the sky, and 3 corpse kun drilled out from the ground. Those thick, long, and huge bodies surrounded everyone. Their huge heads stared at everyone from 3 directions, and the mucus dripping from the corners of their mouths corroded the grass. This is a vicious beast. It's a corpse kun. Heavens! How could a corpse kun appear in Changlin? This is impossible. The princes on Zhu Jingqing's side could not remain calm, and pulled out their swords, looking at the 3 huge corpse kun in fear. All dead. All dead, ha 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 ha. Zhu Yun laughed maniacally. Yi Zizi pouted, so noisy. A strand of hair with a sharp wind drilled into the back of Zhu Yun's head, and the laughter immediately stopped. His whole body began to twitch, and in the blink of an eye, he was reduced to skin and bones. This sudden change caused all the princes to be dumbfounded. Who was this little girl? Who are you? Zhu Jingqing had no other thoughts, and his face immediately changed. With 3 corpse kun looking down on him, if he could still remain calm, then he was not an ordinary person. Yi Zizi jumped down from the spirit goat, and took small steps. Zhu Jingqing, don't you know who I am? Seeing that Yi Zizi was approaching him step by step, Zhu Jingqing unconsciously retreated, and soon after, his butt fell onto the ground. This made him think back to 3 days ago. How could there be such a person in that kind of low-level world, with such strength, and to even be able to control 3 corpse kun? Yi Zizi swept her gaze across everyone, then said with a smile, I am not only targeting Zhu Jingqing, I am also targeting everyone here. Because of him, all of you are going to die. Everyone finally understood why Zhu Yun went crazy. Seems like he already knew that he was going to die. Crown Prince, aren't you going to give us an explanation? Zhu Di was still rather calm, and he shouted out towards Zhu Jingqing. No. I don't know anything. Zhu Jingqing didn't even think too much and immediately jumped onto his unicorn, then ran away madly, and even ran past the corpse kun. Everyone thought that Zhu Jingqing was going to die, and he was going to die very miserably. But nothing happened. Those corpse kun didn't pay attention to Zhu Yun, and that little girl also didn't pay attention to Zhu Yun. Zhu Jingqing ran away just like that. When some princes saw that even the crown prince ran away and didn't get injured, they began to imitate Zhu Yun and immediately got onto their unicorn and ran away. Yi Zizi grinned, and several strands of hair flew into the sky. Those princes who were riding on the unicorn were instantly pierced through the back of their heads, and all of them hung in the sky. I said, all of you are going to die. With a cruel smile on her face, Yi Zizi began sucking the blood essence of the gods. You're tuning into the Romantic Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.